And welcome to this week's Outlaw Radio Network for the first Sunday in the month of May, 2014. K-Log, joined by the very familiar face of Stephen Gardner. What's up, buddy?
I'm still here.
Yeah, you just wrapped up your show, Field of Steve, or a name to be given later. But thanks for hanging out for a little bit. It's good to see you.
I'm here to hear all about Vegas.
Yeah, well, awesome. I normally get to spend, when you're in studio, I normally get to spend time with you, and I help run your show, and so I missed that today, so I'm glad you're hanging out. Also, Des, the intern, is joining us on mic. Is she on camera, too? Strip over there? No, she won't be? Okay.
No. Hello.
We'll keep all of her fans at bay. But Des, the intern, in studio as well. And Strip running the board. St. Paul will join us later tonight, as he had some important thing to do, as he always does. I don't believe it's softball. But he had...
No, it's not softball season.
I don't know. When is softball season? Should be any time, right?
It'll be starting up here soon. He was actually filming a sizzle reel for Krista.
Oh, Krista, the resident psychic.
Yes.
I knew he was with her because he sent me a text.
I actually talked to him earlier. He's going to be calling in roughly around 7:30.
Which in St. Paul time is about 9. All right.
Probably.
Fair enough. So in the meantime, we're joined by Steve and Des and Strip there. The phone lines are open as well at 253-617-1440. For those of you that are Facebook fans of mine, and the number continues to grow. Although I wonder if I lost fans in the last 5 days.
Well, because what's happened in Vegas didn't stay in Vegas.
No. And I occasionally I thought, I'm posting too much from Vegas. And then every once in a while, somebody would send me a message or they'd make a comment that they were living vicariously through my travels and enjoyed that I was sharing. One of which your coworker Josh Farley, and some other people as well. So I just kept posting.
You know what's funny about your posts? I kept seeing all these pictures of you pop up.
Yeah.
Yeah, who'd you go with?
We'll talk about that later.
Who'd you go with?
We'll talk about that later. But hold on.
Come on.
So hold on. So I just want to say to anybody who's following my feed, if you were offended, it's done. I'm back home now, and if you liked it, I have literally 2,000 photos to sort through that I'll be doing.
I think you're the person that nobody would want to bring with them on a private trip. You just share it all.
No, no, there was some stuff that I left out. There was we were on the monorail. We were on the monorail. I was on the monorail. No, I was on the hop on, hop off tour bus. And as we're driving down the streets of Vegas, there was a girl with her head hung all the way out the cab, thrown out of the side of the cab. I didn't take a picture of that and share it. There's some things that are...
You took a picture of it, though.
I did not.
You just didn't share it.
I didn't have the camera ready. Had the camera been ready.
I would have wanted you to share that.
That would have been awesome. Yeah. So, the Vegas trip was outstanding. It was... I'm not a gambler, and I'm not a drinker. Okay? I did not have one drink of alcohol, one shot, one beer, nothing while I was in Vegas.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not, and here's why. For people that have known me a while, when I drink a lot, and then I need my friends to escort me home. And I was in Vegas. I wasn't really confident of the surroundings, so I thought I'm just going to be safe. I did gamble. I won more than I lost. I came out in the plus category, which is a bonus. So I did win a little bit more than I lost. And I literally spent most of the last 4.5 days just wandering the Strip. Well, between the Shark Reef under Mandalay Bay, between just taking pictures of everything. I did the CSI experience. I went to Caesar's Palace and just snagged a whole bunch of photos. We talked on your show about the Fremont experience. Was at that on Friday night? We'll talk about that in a minute. There was so much to do that you didn't have to be, and you've been down there with the family. So there's so much to do down there that you don't have to be a gambler or a drinker to do. I think Vegas gets a little bit of a bum rap.
Yeah, I think I said on my show that I spent $10 gambling. That was it.
Yeah, you don't have to do much. You don't have to. There's so much other stuff to see, and literally just walking the Strip, you can do for 2 or 3 days if you've got the stamina to walk that much. And by the end of the third day, I was toast. But just to see things, and the Bellagio fountain, and the volcano out in front of the Mirage, and there's just so much to do. It's a great time. I'd recommend anybody do it at least once in their lives. I'm probably going to do it annually now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've decided it's going to be my annual trip. I want to go to Vegas annually.
Well, so it's your vitamin D treatment for one thing. If the weather's great, you're going to get lots of sunshine and warm weather, and it's nice to. Now we actually had a few good days here while you were gone, but no, that is something I believe in now. Going away, because when I went, it was February, and it was sunny, and it was miserable up here, and I had a better winter because of it.
Yeah, and you know what it was for me? It was when we got down there. It was about, I want to say about 80 when I got down there on Tuesday.
Perfect.
When I left yesterday, it was 97 when I made it to the airport.
Perfect for me.
No, but see, Vegas is cool though, because Vegas, you get a lot of wind in Vegas. There's a good breeze in Vegas. So even 97, there's no humidity to it.
Yeah, the air is dry, so you don't feel it as much. No, it's still hot.
Yeah.
Hey, it hits 110, 120. It's hot.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are.
Then you're feeling it,
Yeah.
So funny stories. My tour guy was a guy named Phil on the Hop On Hop Off tour bus. He was the warm-up comedian for Saved by the Bell for 9 years. And there was also another sitcom he did with what's her name from one of the morning shows. Kelly Ripa was on it, Hope and Faith or something like that. He did a warm-up for that. He just did a warm-up. I guess they're doing a reboot of The Odd Couple.
Oh, wow.
And he's the warm-up comedian for that. So the network flies him out to New York every week, and he warms up the crowd.
And what was he for you? What was he?
He was the tour guide on the Hop On Hop Off.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was a great experience. But I was thinking as I rode the flight back, and I actually went to Long Beach first, which is a whole other story I'll tell later.
Long Beach, California?
California, yeah. JetBlue does not fly directly from Vegas to Seattle.
Right.
Alaska did, which is what I flew down. But when I was shopping for deals on airlines, Alaska was straight, and then JetBlue goes from Vegas to Long Beach, and then Long Beach to Seattle. And as I was enduring a 6-hour total flight back between the two flights and layover, I got to thinking, what is the lesson out of this? If I'm going to take anything back to Bremerton, what is the lesson out of this?
We need casinos.
And as I put on my Facebook page, we really do need a casino in Bremerton, wink, wink.
We had one.
No, we did not have a casino.
Well, Chips was a casino,
Sure,
wasn't it?
Chips was a card room.
Okay.
So the difference between a card room and a casino is the card room does cards, blackjack, 21, three card poker, stuff like that. Casinos, and where most of their money is made, is off of slots, which they couldn't have. Now, I think we should have a casino in Bremerton.
I'm just
going to leave it at that.
You have an idea where one should go.
I have an idea where one should go, and I'm not going to comment on it. But keep your ears tuned to this very network in about the next 30 days, 30 to 60 days. Just stand by. But the other thing that I got out of this is I looked at Fremont, and I looked at what Fremont used to be. Fremont is old Vegas. Fremont is where the Fremont experience is. It's old Vegas, where the Golden Nugget is, and the Four Queens, which is where I stayed, and Binion's, which is the place you tried to get into to get the cheap 99-cent deep fried Twinkies.
I ended up going in. We just had to leave the kids out. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's old Vegas. Now, back in the day, in fact, I found out a cool story about this. Back in the day when who was the mobster? Bugsy Siegel first set up shop in Vegas. It was in old Vegas, where Fremont is now.
Right.
And he had this big casino, and this building popped up across the street. He didn't know what it was until one day they hung a shingle out there that said Las Vegas Police Department. And they set up shop right across from his casino, and he said, screw this, and he moved to what is now the Strip. And that's what ended up moving all that business to the Strip. And after the Strip picked up, the more the Strip got big, the smaller Fremont got, original Vegas got, because all the business was going elsewhere. And they had to reinvent themselves. They had to figure out a way to bring new business in, how to bring new people in, because they were losing tourists, they were losing tourist money, they were losing all of that to the Strip because they couldn't compete. The size of the casinos, the size of the hotels, all of those were on a much smaller scale in old Vegas. And the similarities are not the same. You can't compare what Bremerton was in the 50s to what Vegas is. It's not an equal comparison. But Bremerton, to me, was a lot like old Vegas. That it had a heyday at one point. And it had a lot of people, and a lot of people milling around, spending money. And a lot of jobs and a lot of opportunity. And as things change and economies change, businesses are pulled elsewhere. In Vegas, they're pulled to the Strip. In Bremerton, they've been pulled to Silverdale. And they've been pulled into non-incorporated Kitsap County. And what the folks at Fremont decided to do was they knew they had to compete, and they couldn't compete on the same scale. So they found a creative way to do it, which is the Fremont Experience. So if you go to Fremont now, at night they close off like a 6-square-block radius of Fremont. They block it in. They bring in bands to play. They have this huge video screen above your head. It's literally six blocks long or so. It's the largest video screen in the world. And they have street performers and people that are dressed in weird attire, and they basically have created a niche that rivals the Strip. I mean, the Fremont Experience is amazing if you can handle some of the questionable outfits. And I got to thinking about Bremerton. And what is the lesson for this for me from Bremerton, which is Bremerton has to learn how to recreate itself. Because I don't feel, and you've covered politics and the ins and outs of this, you've paid attention this far longer than I have. Bremerton has never reinvented itself. So we're a Navy community based off of the Navy, but the Navy numbers go down, okay, based on staffing and how busy we are. If there's ever war, it'll pick back up because all the work is done at the shipyard. But we never really decided anything downtown. Lynn Horton wanted to put in a water park at some point. That was a great idea, Lynn. And then, they had the ideas with the condos. We'll build the condos downtown. And we'll kind of plant these ideas, but I think Bremerton has to re-envision what it is. It'll never compete with Seattle. The same way that Fremont will never compete with downtown Vegas. But Fremont figured out what they had that worked that wasn't the Strip. And I think downtown Bremerton could learn that lesson. Now, I'm not advocating we put a big, giant billboard above their heads. And I'm not advocating that we build casinos on the waterfront. I do know a perfect place for one, though. But I am suggesting that Bremerton has to figure out what its identity is going to be. Because right now, the identity for me for Bremerton is another way to get to Seattle. I mean, they've done a great job on the waterfront. The marina looks great. The Bremerton Transfer Center looks awesome. That area on Washington looks really good. But if you get a block over from the Transfer Center, if you go any farther past the new theater and where Jimmy John's Subs is and that area, and you just go a couple blocks past that, and nothing has changed. Nothing downtown has changed. There's no real growth anywhere else. There's no huge amounts of opportunity for jobs. There's no spillover. And even the condominiums were probably a bust in the fact that they weren't able to sell for what they wanted them to sell. The bank had to, I don't know if the bank still owns it, but the bank had control of it for a long time because they couldn't sell the rooms, the condos for the price that they thought was fair. And I just feel like Bremerton has to redesign itself, find what works that is not in Seattle. And I don't know what that is. But somebody has to be imaginative about it. Because I guarantee somebody walked into the folks in Fremont and said, "Hey, I got this idea. Let's do an outdoor carnival every night. We'll put a big giant canopy up with videos, and we'll make it a party." And I'm sure that 2/3 of the people in Fremont thought, "You are freaking high. There's no way this will work. There's no way it'll sell. There's no way we can compete against this Strip. Let's not even do it." And I think they compete very well at night. And you've been through there. I think they compete pretty well.
Well, I will say that when I was there with my family, we probably wouldn't have gone to Old Vegas at all if it weren't for the fact that people said, "Well, you should go to Old Vegas and see the canopy." Mm-hmm. And honestly, it was a little bit of sensory overload for my kids.
Sure.
And it was a bit much. I think if I would have been there with Diana, we might have had a different experience. Nothing against being with the kids,
sure,
but it was just a bit much, especially when like you were talking about the go-go dancers or whatever in the window. They didn't see a lot that was going to be permanently scarring or anything like that. But it was
there was a guy fatter than me that was dressed in a G-string and angel wings.
Yeah,
and that was the extent of his outfit. So your children would have been scarred had they seen that.
Yeah, no, I think I responded to something you wrote on Facebook and said that my nephew did on a dare. He walked the Strip one day in a thong and tennis shoes. He walked quite a ways, and I think he had to do it for a half hour or something like that, and it probably involved, the judgment that you're given with adult beverages. So
probably. Yeah, you've covered this. You've covered the area a long time.
Yeah.
Does what I'm saying make sense? I don't have a tangible idea what to put on it. I just feel like Bremerton has to figure out what the niche is. If they want to keep money from leaving Kitsap County for people that want to go spend it in Tacoma or Seattle, or they want to get some of that business back downtown. That the
mall.
Well, the city is poorly missing that money downtown. I mean, the amount of businesses that left, I just think that creates a huge hole in the tax base for the city, and it makes it harder for them to fund things like road crews and all of that. I just feel like they have to figure out a way. How are we going to draw people in downtown? And I think Fremont did a great job of that. Mount Vernon's another town that did a great job of that. I talked to David Nelson about that. Old Mount Vernon, David Nelson, editor of the Kitsap Sun, by the way, grew up literally 20 minutes north of where I grew up, and we never knew each other. Old Mount Vernon did the same thing. It was run down. It was crime-ridden. It was an issue, and the city came in there and decided, how are we gonna fix this? And they turned it into an arts district, and bang, it just blew up. I don't know if Bremerton has really considered how to compete.
Well, I think that a lot of what you see is part of the reinvention of Bremerton. First of all, the mistakes of the past have been replayed over and over about what happened downtown. First of all, there was nothing they could do about the fact that there was going to be a mall built somewhere, and the problem was there was enough fighting that it went somewhere other than Bremerton, because there was a place that it was going to go in Bremerton, and my understanding, I wasn't here. My understanding was that the folks downtown fought it, and so they went to Silverdale. Otherwise, that mall would have been in East Bremerton, where you now have abandoned buildings, basically, or empty buildings, and in some cases abandoned. That's my understanding. The part, what you see down there with those parks, with the Fountain Park, what you see with the theater, the new theater, the Sea Film Place, that has been part of what they've, and the marina, like you say, and all of that has been part of them trying to revitalize it. And if you go along Washington and Fourth, where there are a lot of trees, and Fourth, where there aren't a lot of trees, and Pacific Avenue, there actually is quite a bit of business going on there now. That Bremerton is, even though we lost D4, which was the company that was in the where Cornerstone Coffee is,
right?
Even there, it's a lot more bustling than it used to be, and I don't know if you introduce something like a canopy, and I'm not saying a canopy.
Sure.
I'm saying something. If you introduce something that grandiose, you're going to get the same complaints that there were about the tunnel, about the theater, and some of these were justified complaints, and about the parks and all of that. That all of this money that's gone into these things, and so much of it was public money, that it's about time to let it kind of it kind of work things out. Things are going pretty decent in the core area, but you're right that above Burwell, not Burwell, say Warren, you don't see anything really different, and so I can't argue with that.
Well, and even if you go like a block over off of Pacific, down in between, like, say, 6th and 11th.
Yeah.
Just a block over, there's no change.
The Sev just doesn't do it for you, the 7-Eleven.
No. I worked at that 7-Eleven when I first moved to this town. That was scary, man. That was the scariest job I ever had. But and maybe you're right. Maybe it's a matter of letting everything settle. I don't know. I mean, one of the galleries moved out from downtown, right? Did one of the galleries?
You know,
did Amy Burnett move or something?
Well, there is. Yeah, she may have, and I'm sorry if I don't recognize it, but there is a new shop there that looks really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Are you talking about the hospice clothing store?
Is that what it's called? It's not called the hospice, but
no, but the hospice is in it, and it is a clothing store. They just opened that I think 2 months ago.
Is that like on 4th and Pacific?
I think so, maybe.
Well, the paint job they did to it was really. I mean, they made it look really sharp. Yeah, I think you may be right. Maybe that is what it's called. I'm sorry, I don't know.
Something.
She'll find it.
Yeah.
You'll find it.
But yeah, I thought they made it look really nice. Now I don't know if it's how successful it's going to be. I just there are disadvantages to Bremerton that people. It is hard for it to be a go-to place anymore. Mm-hmm. One, because of all the commercial activity in Silverdale. Two, because it is more or less a place that is a place to go to get to Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not close to. It's really downtown is not close to Highway 3.
It's the Hospice Thrift Shop.
Hospice Thrift Shop.
Yeah, and it's on Pacific Avenue.
Well, they made it look really nice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the paint job outside, I think it's really cool, and I'm a thrift shop fan. Well, for whatever reason, I think it's just going to take time. It is going to take time. I think that having the beer festival helps every year.
The beer festival is a great addition. Yeah.
Well, they've got to fight to hold on to that, and so I mean, I think those little things they do. And hopefully, if people like you and me keep going to the theater, that'll help.
Mm-hmm.
What Carlos has done with both he and his wife, with the spa and with the restaurant, Toro Lounge,
mm-hmm.
and there are some good places to eat downtown. The Salvador, or the Mexican Salvadoran place is really good. El Balcon. So I think that and frankly, people don't like chains, but Jimmy John's is I love them.
I had a Jimmy John's for the first time about a month ago in Seattle at work.
I've never had Jimmy John's.
I've got a Jimmy John's about a block away from where I work, and I'll tell you, it's the best bread.
That's what everybody says.
In the subs, it's just the best bread. Period.
Yeah, I don't think the sandwiches are going to blow you away, but they're good. They're very good.
Yeah,
and they're quick. And I like my low carb version where I can get it without the bread, and even that is
they wrap it in lettuce, right?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, they do a lettuce. So instead of bread, they substitute with these big leaves of lettuce, so you don't have the carbs.
Instead of a sandwich, they call it an unwich. Yeah, it's really, and it's tasty.
Cool.
It's tasty. I mean, the stuff is good enough that. So I think that it's there's an energy down there that there wasn't before, and I've told the story a lot of times that when I moved here, when I first interviewed here. I drove into town and said, "Oh boy, there must be a lot or else that's around here that isn't here, because so many people live here and love it here, and Money Magazine had rated it the best place to live,
mm-hmm.
and it took getting out of downtown to find out what that was. But yeah, I was like, oh, I don't want to live here. And then what sold me on sticking around, they took me to lunch at the boat shed, and the view there was great, and there were eagles flying around, and it was something I wasn't used to seeing. And then I got on the ferry that afternoon to go to Seattle, and it was like within 10 minutes, I'm like, oh, yeah, I got to live here.
Yeah, I just... If Bremerton could figure out a way to make themselves a go-to destination on like a Friday and Saturday night, something.
Yeah, that's the thing you're talking about is nightlife.
Yeah, something, because there is no nightlife here. We have this huge Navy population here, right? Between all the sailors that live here and the families that live here and the people that work in the shipyard, we have this huge 21 to 35 demographic that has money burning a hole in their pocket. Why not do something in town that gives them a place to spend it?
Well, I'll tell you, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'll tell you one sign that things are getting a little better is that it's harder. More shows are selling out at the Admiral. Those shows that they have,
mm-hmm.
those things are selling out now. I actually walked over there the night of the day of the Cherry Pop and Daddy's concert, because I had seen them 20 years ago, and I thought it might be interesting to go, but I was working, I wasn't quite sure, and they really didn't have any good seats left.
Yeah,
they had actually they had two that were on the little platform right next to the floor, and then they had scattered seats up in the balcony. And that means the balcony was filling up. So that's a good sign that people are coming downtown, for one thing. So I think they're getting better shows. But also, it's a fact that people are happy to come downtown, and there's something to do besides go to. So I think things are improving. You're right that you don't come down here on a Friday night and always find people. I mean, the mark of success will be when there isn't a show at the Admiral and there's still people downtown.
Sure.
Yeah.
And places like Toro Lounge could benefit from that. Places like some of the other restaurants that are down there could benefit from that if you had a reason. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if I'm advocating closing off Pacific for that stretch every Friday and Saturday night and bringing a live band in or something. But give somebody a reason to do something downtown. I think if you did that, you would expand your base. I've got nothing against thrift stores. Nothing. Some of the best clothes I've ever found, I found in a thrift store. And I got nothing against churches. I go to church every Sunday. But I don't ever feel like in your downtown, right by the ferry, what should be your high traffic area, that a church or a thrift store should ever be able to afford the rent there. It should just be that productive. It should be that popular. The square footage rent should be that much because there's so many people down there that while what Calvary did, what the church did in the old Roxy Theater was awesome for a while, and the thrift stores and the secondhand stores downtown, love what they do. But I would just think that there's no way in a thriving area on your waterfront that they should be able to afford the rent. It should just be over their head. And that's what I would love to see Bremerton do. Figure out a way downtown to bring people in. Then get businesses down there that benefit from that. Restaurants, bars, clubs, something that feeds off of that. And you'd fix some of your tax base.
You couldn't.
Why not?
Bremerton PD are too strict, and we don't have enough public transportation that's to get drunk people home.
We have 6 taxi companies.
6 taxi companies.
And they're garbage.
And I'll
There's
tell
still
you.
6 of them, though.
Hold on. You have Royal Taxi. Terrible.
Really?
Okay? They are terrible.
I have to stick up for Royal Taxi. They do a lot of stuff at Blue Jacket games, and what I've seen of them, they're great. But go ahead.
Okay. Royal Taxi, they're terrible. Matter of fact, they've had 2 or 3 of their taxi drivers been in accidents. A lot of them are recovering drug addicts or doing drugs.
No. Well, what do you care if they're recovering?
I'm just telling you.
What does it matter if they're recovering? So recovering
Some
drug
of them
addicts
don't
can
even
get
have
a
the
job?
license.
Well, that should never be allowed to happen.
The only actual reliable taxi service that I've actually been able to come across, trying to think of his name. It's a guy and his wife run it, but there's only 2 taxis.
Is that Cab Ken?
No, he's terrible too. I'll tell
I'm
you
going to give you a segment on the show every week.
Former sponsors of the show.
Look, has all the Indian people.
Look, I take taxi anytime I go out to the bar. I take a taxi. There's now, and I'm trying to think of the name. I have his business card upstairs, but it's the only taxi I'll call now.
Yeah,
he's the only one. He's like, hey, I'll be there in 15 minutes.
But I guarantee you, if you came up with something downtown. Okay, something.
The cops.
Well,
no offense to all the cops.
You'd have to have an agreement with the police department of what it's going to be and how it's going to work. And I guarantee, if you had enough people down there, Kitsap Transit's going to run a shuttle. I mean, it would just. I mean, these are all schematic
then you're
things
talking
you have
taxpayers
to work
paying more money,
but your tax base is going to be bringing it in if you can get 1,000 people downtown on a Friday or Saturday night, which I don't think is unheard of. Listen, McLeod's pulls in.
Well, they pull in a couple hundred.
400 people, give or take, on a Friday or Saturday night when it's not summer and people are out doing something else. McLeod's brings in 400 people. So tell me that you couldn't get 1,000 people, 1,200 people downtown. We get 1,200 people out to Blue Jackets Ballpark on the 4th of July to watch a free fireworks show. Yeah. If you give them something to do downtown.
Maybe,
And that's 1,200 people keeping their money in Bremerton, not going to Silverdale, not going out. I mean, even if you go out to the garage or you go out to Horse and Cow, you're going to businesses that are in the county that are not paying into Bremerton's tax base. I just think it makes sense. I don't know how you do it. I don't know if you start with every Friday night. Let's block off Pacific. We'll bring a band in. We
live in Washington. That's not an option.
You can do that in the summer, though.
If you're lucky. Think about our summers here.
I'm just telling you, put a canopy up over
They're like, okay, 50% chance of rain. It's going to rain.
This is Washington. People who go out in the rain. Seriously.
There are a couple of apartment complexes that are going to begin building fairly soon. I don't know how, and I'm having to look.
Is that including the one that's supposed to go down? What is that? Burwell and Pacific on that corner. There was one that somebody was going to build one on there that then I think the guy went into bankruptcy or something.
You're talking about Ron Schur, at the JCPenney parking garage.
Yeah.
Now he's just been waiting for financing. In fact, I was just going to look him up. Because Josh just recently wrote about this, so I'll read this while we consider it. No, actually, over by the movie theater and another one over by Evergreen Park, there are a couple that I think are close to submitting for wherever they are in the process, such that we could see some building going in there. So one of the visions for Bremerton was we got to get people here, and that was the impetus behind the condos.
Mm-hmm.
And there was now the 400 was privately built, and the problem there was that it was clearly that it ran into the recession.
Mm-hmm.
That the first market that just suffers in a recession are condos, and the other one, if they had finished the building on time, if they'd been able to get the glass on time, the big white buildings that were publicly financed, or essentially they are publicly financed.
Through the Kitsap County Housing Authority, or
they borrowed, and the county backed them, and the city backed them to some degree too. And those that's where the debacle comes in. There is because there was public money that went into that, and that turned out to be a big loser, but. Nonetheless, they have. I think they have filled most of them. Now, whether people live there year round, that's another issue. With apartments, it's a little different because you have renters, and that will ebb and flow with the number of carriers that we have in town and that kind of thing. But that has been the idea, was let's get people downtown, and that'll create the demand for the kind of stuff that would make downtown flourish. And I think if apartments would generate some nightlife too.
Well, I think apartments would be a lot better off than the condos that they built.
Well, don't they
rely on the cab so much either? Because
walk
home.
And don't they have to put in a gas station and some type of supermarket in downtown if you're going to expect the condos and any kind of apartments to be successful?
I don't know about a gas station, but a supermarket, yeah.
Yeah, you would have to.
The closest gas station's at Burwell in Montgomery. From downtown,
but they'd have to they'd have to start off being reasonably priced. I mean, those condos when they first started putting the price on them, they were expensive.
Well, they should be though. I mean, again, if you get
not
to the idea,
for downtown, not how it is now.
Downtown with a view. Listen, the view at the top of those condos are phenomenal. I had a buddy.
Turn around and look out the other side. There ain't much of a view.
No, well, I don't know. Again, sometimes people like the view of the city, but they were going for less on the other side. But the ones at the top, I believe, they were asking for almost $1 million.
Oh, they were asking outrageous amounts.
950 or something. But again, it makes sense. Listen, if you're on the top 2 or 3 floors of those condos, the view you've got with the water and and Mount Rainier out your window and all of that, it's worth it, But I always thought it was weird that the closest gas station was at Burwell and Montgomery, which is, what is that, 2 miles down the road, mile and a half, 2 miles, 3 miles.
You're talking about the 7-Eleven?
No, there's not gas there. You have to go all the way down to where A&W used to be in the back half of their gas station.
No, I think
Burwell and Montgomery.
There's an AM/PM on 11th and
there is.
Or 6th in Montgomery.
Yeah.
6th. So 6th in Montgomery would be the closest. But
I don't really. You think that's critical?
Don't you?
I don't think that's so much critical to have a gas station, because if you're putting in apartments, especially if people are taking the ferry or they're going to work somewhere, they're not going to really be worried about getting gas that close to their apartment. They're going to get it on the way to work.
Maybe you're right. I always just thought that you needed.
Look, man,
you should have businesses downtown that feed off of that traffic. We're running. How many cars do you think we run a day through? I mean, it would be a guess, but any idea?
Oh, I'm sure it's in the thousands, but I don't know. I have no idea.
Let's round high. Let's say there's 10,000 cars a day that come to the ferries, and let's say 5. Let's say there's 5,000 cars a day that come down just for the ferry, that do the straight. I've mentioned this on this show before, and I mentioned it when I was on KITZ back in the day. What do? They come off of the highway. Then they get on Burwell, which is a straight shot. And on both sides of Burwell is what? One side is the shipyard, the other side is residential houses. And that's the way it is the entire way down Burwell until you get to...
That's not true. There's a gas station.
At Burwell and Montgomery. But everything else after that is straight shot. There's houses on one side and either houses on the other, or you get to the fence for the shipyard. And I thought, what a shame that is. That we spent so much money on that gateway project to help flow of traffic, but we didn't change anything to allow businesses the opportunity to maximize profits off of the thousands of cars that come down Burwell. They're driving past houses and the shipyard.
Then the city would have to take all those houses and buy them back and zone them differently.
When the recession was on, and the house owners would have gladly gotten at it. I would think that some house owners gladly would have gotten rid of their stuff. And I'm not saying you do it to the whole thing, but you've got to have something. And they've started to do this now with Jimmy John's and the movie theater and all of that. But you've got to have these hubs, right? With little shops and little restaurants and mom and pop diners and gas stations and stores and just little, to get some of that money, because we're getting a lot of tourists that come through here that ride the ferry just to ride the ferry, and they don't drop another dime in Bremerton because there's nothing that they see from that ferry that, oh, I want to stop in that shop and see what I can get because I just rode the ferry into Bremerton. But I could be wrong.
Yeah, no, there's nothing really.
Wrong. No, there's nothing.
Look, I don't even go over to downtown unless I got to take the ferry. I don't go down there.
That's saying.
No.
I
listen. I love the marina.
I don't have a reason to go down there.
I love the marina. I do. I think the marina is phenomenal. When they, I think it was Bozeman that was behind that. When they built the marina, they did a great job. And the fact that you can publicly access the marina to go out to that farther walk. Mm-hmm. Have you been down there to the farther walk?
No.
No. Take Sarah, get a sitter for the kids. Take Sarah, take a picnic lunch, and go down on the. Have you been down there, Stephen? The far wall of the marina.
Yeah,
yeah. It's gorgeous. They put picnic tables out there. Just go out there and sit and enjoy the view. And
I don't even know what you're talking about.
So if you go to the marina on the Bremerton waterfront, there's the marina, right?
See, this is why I don't go down there. I don't have a reason to go down there.
Well, I'm giving you a reason now. So when you look, there's the marina, right? On the other side of the marina, from where you're standing, on the outskirt of the marina, there's a walk that is basically a big wide open, almost like a sidewalk, but it's floating. And it runs the whole breadth of the outside perimeter of that marina. It's a breakwater is what it is. It's designed to keep the waves down. But the way they built it was they built it wide enough and open enough that you can go down there and walk and get a great view and enjoy the weather. If it's nice outside, take a picnic lunch. No, it's gorgeous down there.
In the past 2 years living here, I've never once actually spent time.
Well, you should.
In downtown.
You should.
I've never been intrigued to. There's nothing really.
Go check out the.
The most time I spent downtown was picking up Sarah from Starbucks.
Yeah.
No, I
when you posted bail.
If the weather is nice, there's lots to do and hang around. And not even spend any money if you don't want to. Those parks are pretty special. I think the fountain parks are really cool.
I was gonna say the fountain park. That's the one place.
The fountain parks are nice. Have you seen the fountain park? You need to go downtown.
Yeah. We take the kids down there to go play in the water.
You know what we're gonna do for Blackberry Festival this year? Mayor Lent has given us the invite a couple of times about broadcasting the show live from Blackberry Festival. I will touch base with Mayor Lent again and see if she'll allow us to do that. And maybe we can do a Saturday show one week, and we'll do it for the Blackberry Festival. Mary Lent is a big fan of the show. Did you know that?
No.
She loves us. She loves us. Mary Lent is awesome, and I like the job that she's doing. I think that at some point the government has to get out of it, and then businesses have to say, how can we work together to bring money into the base? How can we lure, if you want to use creepy words, how do we lure consumers down to spend money in our district?
I think, I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt here, but I think again the idea goes back to getting people down there. And the reason I wanted to look up this conversation that Josh had with Ron Scher, and I just wanted to remind myself, make sure I was saying the absolute truth. He owns the parking garage, the JCPenney parking garage.
Is that the same one that does movies on the roof?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So his original idea was to convert that into a mixed-use residential and retail place, and he'd have one of his bookstores there. He has never done residential before. And so for all these years, he's been looking for a partner who would go into it looking at Bremerton the same way he has, as a place a way to invest in a community. And he hasn't found that partner yet. And so that's what's happening there. And that's a lot of what folks have been waiting for. And he made his investment right before the economy crashed. And so residential development went through some real doldrums. But I think things might be starting to turn around as far as that goes. And it could be that all it's going to take is getting more people down there, and it will become a better destination place. It is already great, I think, in the daytime. Mm-hmm. I think there's lots to do in the day. But you're right, there isn't a lot to hang around at night. I will say that the times I've come back at night recently, I've felt a lot more secure than I did in the past when I would come back from, let's say, a Mariners game and be walking around downtown, and it would be kind of rough. But it doesn't. I don't know. Maybe I've just grown used to it. But
I don't know.
I'm not as scared anymore.
Strip's not a big fan of the BPD, Bremerton Police Department, but I will say they've done a great job of getting downtown under control, because I feel the same way you do. It used to be pretty scary to walk around down there, but it's
What
not.
about the rest of the town?
I'm giving prop where it's due. They got to start somewhere. They need a foothold.
I'm sorry. I had my car broken into. They couldn't even bother to send a police officer to my house.
What kind of car is it?
A BMW.
Yeah, you know what that stands for. Break my windows.
I'm just saying, like, we literally had and it wasn't just me. There was a rash of break-ins around here.
Listen, downtown Bremerton is like Crimea, right? The Russians had to get a foothold in Crimea before they could branch out in the rest of the Ukraine. Bremerton Police Department is okay. We'll get a foothold in downtown, and then we'll spread out.
Bremerton PD doesn't. I think they have 1 or 2 officers at night on patrol on the side.
They've got to have more than that.
No, they hand it over to the county.
Listen, you think about how far BPD has come from. Has come. Their their reputation 10 years ago was horrible. There was that African American kid that got shot by Bremerton police, and they really took a black eye with that, and they took a public hit. And I'll find his name because I covered it when I think it was back when I was with KITZ when it happened. But they've really gone through some stuff through their leadership to kind of get back on the right track. Give them a chance. Give them a chance. Hey, Stephen Boyer's going to be looking for a job.
Look, well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, I know there's a couple out there that I know that are real good at their job.
Stephen Boyer will be fine.
He'll be fine.
I love Stephen Boyer. Steve, I'll tell you stories about Stephen Boyer after the show when we go to break.
Yeah, some of them are good. I have experience with them with my parents on the pool hall.
Yeah,
one of them used to come by all the time, and that's how I know they only have a very limited amount of Bremerton PD on this side of the water or this side of the bridge unless something happens.
Yeah, but you have to. But who you have to blame? Not just BPD for not having a lot of officers. I mean, they're under the same budget constraints that everybody else in the city's under. You know, every time that the mayor has to look at the budget and the city council has to look at the budget and figure out what they're going to cut. You know, you can only cut so much from public works. You can only cut so much from the parks. You can only cut so much from.
Yeah, but okay, so I mean, literally, so like when the all the break-ins were happening in cars and they were smash and grabs, just stealing purses. Mm-hmm. There was not a cop to be seen. There was not a cop to be seen until a month after the break-in stopped happening.
And that should tell you how much their workload is. I'm not making excuses for them. I'm just saying that when you're the mayor and the city council and you're cutting money, there's only so much you can cut from the other stuff before you have to cut from the...
Yeah, but you can shift where officers are working.
Well, we should just have one outside of your house.
No, I don't want
Between
that.
people breaking into your house and your ex-girlfriend, we need to station one outside of your house.
Heading back at night after work home, like between about 10:30 and midnight, depending on when I get out, right? I can see at least 7 cars on the other side of town. Here I only see like 1. But on the other
they're
side,
all
like
over on the other side.
Yeah, I'll literally see 7 of them. And several of them, there'll be 2 parked at one time just sitting there chatting, not even like a care in the world. And they're not even like a mile away from each other.
Well, the city did do one thing I appreciated was they dealt with the West Park issue, which
was that so much West? Was that so much the city, or was that investors willing?
Well, the city was big players in getting rid of that, weren't they, Steve?
It's the Bremerton Housing Authority, which is contracted by the city, and so they were the ones that oversaw the transformation of West Park, and they're building there.
Yeah, and they're building. And they're building. There's jobs there. There's going to be houses there. Winco has been a tremendous success, unless you work for QFC. But Winco's been a tremendous success, and it's.
I can tell you, I've been in some of those duplexes over there.
Mm-hmm.
People, man, brand new duplexes.
He's the most judgmental person I've ever met in my life.
Well,
by the way.
Going in and out of people's houses all the time. You're renting a place
because you're working for Wave Cable.
Yeah, you don't need to trash it. I mean,
that's normal from renting it though. You get that when you rent it.
Brand new, trashed, holes in the walls already. People been in there like a week. Who lives like that?
Listen, my next great cause is to hopefully get East Park. Not East Park. What's the area behind 7-Eleven off of Wheaton? Is that East Park? What is that?
Wait, 7-Eleven off of.
I don't know what it's called, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
The old Navy housing right there.
Right up here.
Yeah.
Actually, okay.
My hope is to get rid of that next.
No, actually, that's probably not going anywhere anytime soon. They actually have stricter rules, and they had at West Park. They have just as strict rules as they have over at the new place where West Park is. They are very strict. I know people live in there. They don't.
I get hate mail doing this show. By the way, you just want the homeless. You want all the poor to be homeless. You don't want the poor living down. I don't care if they live downtown. I just want them to live in some place that's decent, representative of our community. And
yeah, I mean those places over there, they're not bad. They actually update the inside of them and they take care of them. Yes, it is a low income area, but not a whole lot of crime. I know people that live there and live around there.
One of your coworkers live there?
Like 2 or 3 of them do.
Really?
Yeah, they say they're actually. They don't look that great from the outside, but inside they're fantastic.
Because you work at a chicken place, it's not Kentucky Fried. You work at a different chicken place.
I do. I work.
Now, granted, I have seen some crazy people come out of there and go to the 7-Eleven.
Do they
right
serve
down the
spinach
road.
where you work?
No.
Oh, they should.
You know what they really should sell?
Spinach.
Fried okra.
Popeye loves spinach.
Do you know why that makes no sense?
Why?
Because it wasn't named after that Popeye.
It wasn't?
No.
What are they naming after?
Popeye Doyle from The French Connection.
Really?
Yeah.
See, this is why Stephen Gardner is the best host on this network.
I'm the Cliff Clavin of on the board today.
If you're Cliff, can I be Norm? I'm a federal employee. I am a federal employee, at least for now.
That would be Cliff.
Cliff was the federal employee. Right?
Yeah.
Norm was just the drunk. Okay.
I still got it right.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to the top of the hour here in just a couple of minutes. We totally went past the bottom of the hour, too. Strip didn't even have us on task today.
Well, you guys were talking, and I was like, I was going to say something about it. And I just figured I'll just wait and see if Kevin says something.
By the way, notice it's 7:56 and Paul hasn't called yet.
I know what we can do about dealing with the police, though.
What can we do?
Like the movie Cuffs.
What they do in Cuffs?
The Christian Slater movie from like the 80s.
Never saw it.
You never saw it?
Never saw it.
Oh, they couldn't pay for the police departments like to be in every single area, so they started having like a security group, kind of like a watch thing, that people that own businesses or homes, they would pay the companies to watch those areas just specifically for them.
Yeah, it was
private police force.
Private police forces, yeah. The guy that lives behind me on my alley, lives behind across the alley from me, is the neighborhood watch leader in my neighborhood.
Let me guess, he's still a member.
I've never seen anybody else that says that they're a member, but more power to him. Then his house got broke into while he was on vacation, so clearly it wasn't working. All right, so we'll go to the. Are you sticking around for a while? What's your plan? What are you doing?
I think I better go home.
Wife waiting for you?
What else have you got to talk about?
Well, coming up in the next hour, we're going to talk about a couple of things. One, there's the leaked email came out this week in regards to Benghazi and a link to the White House. So we're going to get into that with Paul. We're also going to break down the situation of what's going on in Ukraine over the last several days. And I'm just coming up to speed, so forgive me because I was in Vegas where there is no news. The Russians shot down a Ukrainian helicopter over Ukraine airspace. That is a fiery pit of hell that is just waiting to burst open if things don't go well. And so Obama's got some responsibilities as to how the U.S. is going to respond, and to how far we're going to push back at Putin, Vlad. And then, the other thing that Paul has brought up, we'll talk to Paul if he ever calls. Paul believes this sets the stage for how the rest of the world will view us and our commitments. We have a treaty with the Ukrainians to protect them if they're under attack. If we don't follow through with that, there's questions about how will China view that in regards to some territories that they're in dispute with Japan and the Philippines, among others. So we'll get into all kinds of world stuff here in the next hour. or so. We've also got a picture that was on my Facebook page that Paul has asked that we share, which is me beating up 3 superheroes. So we'll unveil that. We'll unveil that later in that.
Was that in Vegas?
That was in Vegas. Yeah. So we'll do that. And there's just a whole bunch of other stuff to talk about as well. Just a pickup of stuff. Did you watch the
if it was live TV, I probably didn't.
It was last night. I actually watched it live on the airplane flight on the way home. Thank you, JetBlue, for putting free TV in the back of your seats. But it was the correspondence dinner. Did you catch any of that?
We talked a little bit about. I heard Obama's speech.
Yeah,
and I thought it was hilarious.
I thought it was
did
too.
A great job.
And then Joe McHale wasn't too bad either.
I didn't watch him.
So Joe McHale was talking about. I don't remember what the politician was, but it was one of those Tea Party guys. And they said, "Here's Barack Obama, the president," or as some Tea Party guy would refer to him, an inner-city minority who's relying on the federal government to feed and house and clothe his children, which I just thought was witty, but it was good. If you get a chance to watch it on CNN. Steve, thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, thanks. It's fun to hang out.
We love having you in
fun
here.
To be here.
You're welcome to hang out.
Thanks, Des, for letting me man this seat.
You're a far better co-host than Paul is, by the way.
I won't argue with that.
All right, you can catch Steve on Field of Steve from 5 to 7 directly before this show every Sunday. And we'll go to the top of the hour news. When we come back, we'll switch it to more of a world view. Ukraine? What the heck's going on in Ukraine? And also Benghazi. Will it be a black mark on the president's record? No racial pun intended there, but will it be a black mark on the president's record? And how will the White House respond? How should they respond to the leaked emails? Stick around. More of the Outlaw Radio Network on EdgeMediaSource.com.
Get outlawed.
From NPR News in Washington, I'm Janine Herbst. Dozens of al-Qaeda-linked militants in Yemen are dead and fighting today, part of an ongoing military campaign. NPR's Alice Fordham reports Yemen's army is cracking down hard on militants there.
State media reports 37 terrorists were killed and many more injured in fighting in the lawless province of Shabwa in South Yemen. A military source told the agency that most of those killed were foreigners from Saudi Arabia, Afghanistan, Somalia and Chechnya. In recent weeks, the military has conducted a number of operations against the local affiliate known as Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. American officials have expressed deep concern about the group, which has attempted to blow up at least 2 international flights. The US operates a controversial drone strike program in Yemen, which is thought to have been behind several recent airstrikes. Alice Fordham, NPR News, Beirut.
Hundreds of pro-Russian demonstrators stormed police headquarters in the port city of Odessa today, prompting the release of 67 people arrested over their involvement in deadly clashes last week that claimed the lives of 40 people. Some died from gunshots, but others died in a fire that tore through a trade union building after government supporters and protesters threw Molotov cocktails at each other. Police in India say at least 19 people died when their passenger train derailed in New Delhi today. More than 100 others were injured. The accident happened around 60 miles south of the capital of Mumbai when the engine and some of the coaches came off the track. India has one of the world's largest train networks, carrying some 20 million people a day. 9 performers were seriously injured today during a performance in Rhode Island of the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. Ian Adonis from Rhode Island Public Radio reports several other people suffered minor injuries when the performers fell during an act where 8 women hang like a human chandelier using their hair.
Video of the incident shows the performers falling about 25 to 40 feet to the floor of the arena after a platform collapsed. Stephen Payne is a spokesman for Feld Entertainment, which owns Ringling Brothers.
Our thoughts and prayers are with the performers and their families, and for a safe and speedy recovery. And we do hope that we are able to, they're able to come back and continue performing with the greatest show on earth.
Payne says both circus and local officials will take part in an investigation into the cause of the accident. For NPR News, I'm Ian Donis in Providence.
A strong magnitude 6.0 earthquake has hit near Tokyo, but officials say no tsunami warnings were needed. The U.S. Geological Survey says the quake hit early Monday morning local time and was located 61 miles south of Tokyo. Japanese news media reports all of Tokyo's subway systems were stopped briefly as a precaution, and so far there are no reports of damage or injuries. World markets, Japanese and South Korean markets are closed for a holiday. In Hong Kong, the Hang Seng is up 0.1% at the open. This is NPR News. LA Mayor Eric Garcetti says he doesn't think LA Clippers owner Donald Sterling will sell the team without a legal fight. Sterling was fined $2.5 million and banned for life from the game over racist remarks. The NBA commissioner wants to force him to sell. Garcetti said a protracted legal battle will hurt the team and the city of Los Angeles. Voters in California heard more this weekend from two Democrats in one of the country's most hotly contested primary races. From member station KQED, Rachel Myro reports the candidates vying to represent Silicon Valley in Congress faced hundreds of voters at a packed community forum.
Longtime incumbent Mike Honda is facing a fierce intra-party challenge from Ro Khanna, a former trade official with the Obama administration who's raised more than $3.5 million. Congressman Honda stressed his involvement in legislation passed and pending.
That is what people want. They want results, and that's what I've done. It's not theory.
Khanna argued he's got a tech-focused vision lacking in his rivals, especially Honda. Democratic voters dominate this district, and given California's top two primary system, Honda and Khanna may well take this fight to the ballot box in November. For NPR News, I'm Rachel Myro in San Francisco.
Former President George H.W. Bush is being honored by the John F. Kennedy Presidential Library and Museum in Boston. The elder Bush was awarded a Profile in Courage Award today for agreeing as president to raise taxes to confront a spiraling deficit. That decision angered conservatives who denounced him for breaking his campaign promises not to raise taxes. I'm Janine Herbst, NPR News in Washington.
As Kitsap County's largest maintenance provider, Team Innovative in Paulsbo provides commercial and residential maintenance to hundreds of millions of dollars of local real estate. With services including parking lot maintenance and street cleaning to landscape and design, Team Innovative is committed to using a green approach and following a strong environmental conscience. Team Innovative Services, 697-6858, or visit them online at getinnovative.net. Team Innovative Services, get serious, get innovative.
Brothers Power Sports has been a locally owned family business in Bremerton since 1949. From new and pre-owned motorcycles, ATVs, scooters, boats, and watercraft to parts and service and apparel. Brothers Power Sports is committed to being your source for all your motorsports needs. And they're a proud sponsor of the Habitat for Humanity of Kitsap County. Brothers Power Sports, 5205 1st Street in Bremerton, and online at brotherspowersports.com. Stop in and feel the difference at Brothers Power Sports in Bremerton.
The Home Buyers Association of Kitsap County is an association of professional builders, subcontractors, service providers, and purveyors representing the home building industry. For more than 50 years, the Home Builders Association of Kitsap County has provided information, education, and services that promote the health and welfare of the home building industry. As leaders of the industry, the Home Builders Association of Kitsap County fosters safe, affordable housing and addresses issues affecting our industry. To find out more, visit them online at kitsapHBA.com.
Getting married, entertaining clients, or maybe you're just having a bash with your friends. No matter the occasion, make sure you plug into the tunes with E&M Entertainment. There are tons of DJs out there, but how many of them want to get to know you beforehand so they can play your soundtrack at your event at your kind of price? It's more than just a great selection. E&M plays your great selection, and that makes all the difference. So call 425-971-8078. That's 425-971-8078 for E&M Entertainment.
The Loft at Latitude 47.7 in Paulsbo is an amazing way to enjoy a night out on the town. At The Loft, they feature a full menu including fresh seafood, amazing appetizers, and tempting desserts. Plus, with Happy Hour Daily, you can enjoy great discounts on draft beer, house wines, and selected menu items. The Loft at Latitude 47.7, open 7 days a week at 18779 Front Street in Paulsbo, overlooking the beautiful Paulsbo waterfront. The Loft at Latitude 47.7, Paulsbo's only waterfront restaurant and bar.
Every time our country stands in the path of danger, an instinct seems to summon her finest first.
For he is truly his brother's keeper.
Let us fight for a new world!
There's two kinds of people in this world when you boil it all down. You got your talkers and you got your doers. Most people are just talkers. So which one are you? Do you just talk about it? Or do you stand up and do something about it?
It's always the patriots who first hear the call. For everyone within the sound of my voice, from my cold, dead hand.
You're listening to the Outlaw Radio
Network.
OutlawRadioNetwork.com.
All right, Outlaw Radio Network moving on into hour number 2. Thanks for checking out the show. Thanks again to Stephen Gardner for hanging out with us for the first hour. Again, you can catch him on Field of Steve every Sunday from 5 to 7 in his new time slot right before this one. And thanks to Steve for joining us. Thanks to Strip again for running the show tonight, doing a fabulous job as always. And Dez joins me now to my right. What's up?
Nothing much.
You're just full of talk tonight, aren't you?
Oh, yeah.
Paul is going to join us. Do we all want to? Let's all put over unders on what he actually calls us.
No.
Why?
No.
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 But why?
Look, I talked to him earlier, and it's kind of funny because he was like, "Hey, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna call in tonight because he's at his new house now." And so I'm skeptical to say on whether he's really going to call in or not, because he was like, well, I'll try calling in, or I'm going to call in, but I'm not sure how it's going to go because I'm at the new house and da-da-da-da-da. So kind of skeptical on whether he's actually going to be able to call in or
So
not.
you think he won't call in at all?
No, I'm just saying it's really tough to judge. I mean, I've been waiting for him. He said he was going to text me before or send me a message on Facebook before he called in.
Oh, that's outstanding.
To make sure it wasn't during a break. So
I'm going to say there's a 75% chance that he's not going to call.
Really? I think he'll call by 9.
Yeah.
If he doesn't call by 9,
he'll at least call. How long he's going to be able to call in for, that's a different story.
What?
Can we just take a
Oh,
moment?
hold on.
Why does this always happen to me?
So she's logged into Tro's Facebook page.
Why does this always happen to me? It always...
I don't know.
every time
Put
I
something
get
in
on-
there. Put something in there good.
That's because people forget to log out when they're on them.
That's why I never forget anymore.
I always log out on mine.
No, go ahead. Put something good in there about
You guys are
Trojo.
mean. You know that?
I'm not doing anything.
You guys are mean.
You can type it.
We're trying to run a professional environment, and you
Here,
guys.
Des
do
will
stuff
talk
like-
for a second. Hold on. I got to.
You guys do stuff like this.
Oh, no, it's not. Hold on. It's like freaking out. Oh, hold on. I gotta
You
do
know, one nice thing I've always had, one rule with my roommates and everybody is like, hey, if my Facebook is open, don't touch it. And we leave them alone. It's nice to know your friends.
Let me
will
know when
do
you
it
get
for
back into it.
All right.
Sorry, that's not my role. If you leave yourself logged into Facebook, I'm going to mess with you.
The only person I really hate who messes with it is my mother. My mother loves
What
to
does
do
she
that.
do to your page? What does your mother put on your? It can't possibly be that
She
bad.
hasn't
It's your
done it
mom.
that long. Oh, it
What does
doesn't
she
matter.
do?
Just because she's my mother does not mean that it's not that bad.
What does
She
she
has
do?
a very horrible sense of humor. It's just,
So that's where you get it from.
I don't have a horrible sense of humor. I have a fantastic sense of humor.
Okay.
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 I can laugh at a lot of things.
Can you? All right. All right.
For example, you thinking that you're going to have a chance with me.
No, I know I'm going to. Just a matter of time.
No, you won't.
Excuse me. Does this towel smell like chloroform? Anyway, so
Just because I'm a natural blonde does not mean that I'm not dumb.
So did you guys watch the correspondence dinner yesterday?
No. Oh.
Is it back in there? Okay, talk for a second.
Great work, Kato.
Yeah. Fantastic.
You're killing it.
So, Caleb, what's up?
Honestly, I'm browsing the internet looking at Newegg right now.
Oh my God, you're not.
Really? Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm reading at what he's typing, and it's just, it's so wrong.
This computer is so slow. I've typed 6 letters that have not popped up on the screen yet.
Well, you got to give it a second after it turns on.
Okay, 1 minute. Talk, for God's sake.
What do you want me to say?
Tell a story. Do something.
So, hey, I want to know who K-Dog went to on his
I do
vacation
too.
to Vegas
I want to know
with.
who he went with too.
Actually, I already know.
Oh, you do?
I do know.
Then you should share and tell everybody.
Do me a favor. Switch me seats for a second. Because I can talk while I do this. Switch me seats.
You don't need to switch.
Hey, by the way, have I showed you guys my new shirt, by the way? Here we go, listeners. Let me show you the new shirt. So I picked this up in Vegas. So as we talk, you can. Does it show up well?
Hello. Oh, it does.
Does it show up good on the screen?
Oh, wow.
Look at it. You like that?
Look at that.
It's all like sound responsive.
That's actually kind of cool.
Isn't that pretty cool?
Yeah.
Nobody else has a shirt.
It looks a lot better when I'm looking at it through here than it does on camera, but
it doesn't look as good on camera.
Well, no, like I mean, it lights up, but you can't see all the details. Quite as well.
We need high def.
They are high def, but it's not.
So anyway, this is the new shirt. So
do you want it to say white woman?
Yeah, I'm gonna trade me places. Trade me places.
No, I got it.
Okay.
That is the only words that I typed in this.
Okay, stand by. Talk for a second.
Have you ever been down to California, Caleb?
Yes.
What area?
Does it matter?
Yes, it does.
I've been all over California, actually.
Anything fun to do in LA?
Don't think I've been to LA.
Oh, that's where I'm going, man. So I'm trying to figure out things to
I mean,
do.
I've been to Disneyland. I may have been to LA. I may have driven through it. I've driven a lot of places. I've been to Atlanta, drove back from Atlanta, drove to Wisconsin, and back. Been to Chicago.
Read that before I post it. Go ahead, read that before I post it.
Kevin posted on Jeremy's page, I'm naming my penis the Black Mamba because it only seeks out white women, and if I ever go to Colorado, I'm going to wind up in jail. # women love dark meat.
Yeah, hit post.
Wow.
Click post. There you go.
That is absolutely
And now I can say I didn't post anything. Des is the one that posted it. I didn't post it.
No, but we have proof that you typed it.
But we have proof that you posted it. Good job. All right, so let's get back to the subject at hand. And thanks for checking out the show. 253-617-1440 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the show. Remember, last call comes up at 10 o'clock. Brought to you in part by Mindy Byers. So thanks to Mindy for bringing us the show. A question really quick for Strip first. Strip, have you been following what's going on in the Ukraine? Have you been keeping track of that?
Not so much lately.
Have you, Des? Have you been following what's going on in Ukraine?
I've heard parts of it, but I haven't really, not keeping up with it.
Hey, here's my idea, or here's my reasoning for not really keeping track.
Yes.
Because our president's not going to do shit about it. He's going to sit on his hands and
Tweedle
make
his
us all
thumbs.
look like idiots.
So you don't think he's going to respond at all then?
No, he may respond with some words, or we're going to need to put some more sanctions in place, or whatever. Whoop-de-doo-dah.
But nothing militarily?
Nothing.
Des, do you agree? Do you think he won't pursue anything militarily?
I kind of agree with what Caleb's saying, but at the same time, you never know. He does kind of make rash decisions.
But no, look, look at Iraq. He was so anti-war, let's get our troops home.
Mm-hmm.
That's been his whole stance. I don't think he's going to break that stance. I think he's just going to be like,
I think if it comes down to it, he will. I honestly do.
You think he will?
Yeah, I think if it honestly comes down to it, he will. Because there's a lot behind it.
I don't think it'll happen, not unless Russia does something seriously even worse than what they've already done, which they've already done some seriously bad stuff. They've been flying aircraft over Ukraine. And
yeah. 2 days ago, there was a major street battle between Russian supporters and opponents. Deadly blaze that killed more than 40 people. So that was 2 days ago. And I'm looking. Yeah, so here's my issue with Ukraine. Let's pretend that Georgia, bless their heart, wanted to just secede from the Union. Okay?
You talking about the state Georgia?
Yeah, the state of Georgia.
Okay.
Just wanted to secede from the Union. And again, that's kind of what's happened in Crimea. Okay? Crimea is part of Ukraine, but the people in Crimea want to be part of Russia. Crimea, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So they've decided they no longer want to be part of the Ukraine. They want to be part of Russia. So let's say that Georgia decided we want to be part of Cuba. Okay? And most of the people in Georgia were adamantly, you could hear them, they were protesting. The polls all said that 65% of them wanted to be part of Cuba.
I don't know why, but okay.
I don't know either. Free healthcare.
I think you'd have better luck saying Florida, but okay.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm not saying
better
Florida.
than Cuba.
I'm not saying Florida. I said Georgia. Leave me my stories. And let's say that it broke out in struggle between people in a militant group in Georgia and the U.S. federal government. Okay, would we want the Russians interjecting their nose in our back door?
Hell no.
We would tell the Russians, stay the hell off of our continent. We got this handled. Leave it alone.
The Russians are barely a step up from a third world country.
No. What I mean is, militarily, we wouldn't want them over here getting involved in our issue, right?
Yeah,
if we're going to handle a state trying to secede.
I think part of the issue you're kind of missing here, though, is that there was a lot of skepticism on the validity of that vote in Crimea.
Well, fair enough, but I'm not talking about the skeptical end of that. I'm just saying,
and you know, and I know, Russia has been guilty in the past of some very shady things.
Oh, sure they have, because they're pretty shady people.
So, is it too far fetched to say that Russia had a hand in it and maybe made it look like Crimea wanted to go to Russia? I don't think it is, and I think that's part of the issue is just people's validity, validating, saying, hey, did they really vote this way? Did the majority of the people really want to go back to Russia?
Well, and that's a fair question. I'm just speaking out loud, though. Regardless of how flammable the situation was in Georgia, we would not want the Russians coming over here and getting involved in our back door, right?
Okay, let's not use Russia as an example. Let's use...
No, we'll use Russia because that's going on in Russia's back door.
No,
and we're basically interjecting we're interjecting ourselves in something on the other side of the planet.
Not just us, though. The UN is.
Okay, well then, and the UN, fine. But we wouldn't want anybody getting involved. We want to handle our own domestic issues on our own.
I think I think if we were in a place where people were skeptical on whether or not Georgia had actually voted that way and wanted to do that, I'd be for it. Like, oh yeah, let's get some help. Let's figure out what the hell's going on. If that was the case,
right? Okay, I don't agree. I think that no matter what, we'd want foreigners to stay out of it. We would we believe we should handle this ourselves. I think the Ukraine and Russia situation has to be handled out.
Yeah,
by
it's
them.
like when the French came to help us.
Yeah, don't get me started on the French, dude. I'm just saying we really have to stay out of Ukraine and Russia. There's a long history that goes in that part of the world. Ukraine used to be part of Russia. There's a long history that we don't need to be mired in.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know who set a treaty with Ukraine that if they were ever under hostile acts, we'd get involved and back them up. Whoever did that was an idiot.
Yeah, wait, it was oh God, what's it's not the UN.
This is what Google is.
It's not the UN. Who is it? It's
NATO.
NATO.
North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Yes.
But here's the thing you got to look at though too. If the U.S. doesn't step in, if Russia keeps ramping up and doing stuff.
You caught yourself. I'm so impressed. Go ahead.
If Russia keeps ramping up and they keep blowing planes out of the sky or whatever, they keep flying over Ukraine and all this stuff, at what point do countries like North Korea go, well, what the hell's the U.S. going to do? They're not doing anything. They're sitting on their hands. So what are they going to do if we invade South Korea? They're not going to do a thing.
Well, hold on. South Korea is a whole different...
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is. It is. No, I'll tell you why. Because we have military bases in South Korea. We have U.S. forces in South Korea that would be in the line of fire.
But do you know what they...
And we've never declared armistice in North and South Korea. We've never had a peace treaty.
Do you know what the men and women over in South Korea are taught? The men and women that are on that line?
What's that?
Hold on as long as you can and retreat.
And pray.
Because they know that if North Korea comes across that border... They cannot stop them.
Yeah, they can't stop them, which means we've got however many tens of thousands of troops we got there. They're basically a speed bump.
Exactly, and they're
how would you feel if you're?
Well, they're supposed to retreat as soon as possible, get the hell out of there.
How'd you feel if you're
reinforcements?
If you're the army and you're stationed in South Korea, knowing that you are nothing more than a road bump?
I actually know somebody who's stationed over there. likes it over there for the most part. I mean, except the road bump part. But fact of the matter is, it's like if we don't step up and do something, we're just going to look weak in the end, and people will walk all over us.
I just listen. I think you pick and choose your fights. Let me use a good example. You're going to hate me for this.
We've stayed out of Africa.
But you have to pick and choose your battles. It's like you and Sarah, right? You have to give and take some things in your relationship with Sarah, and she has to give and take some things with you. Even though there's some things that she may not approve about you or may not like best about you in the relationship, there's something she's just going to let go because she knows that she has to give and take. She has to pick the battle she wants to fight. It's the same thing with this Ukraine thing. We got enough issues on our doorstep without us committing troops and resources and money we don't have to the other side of the world for a country we have no ties to. We really don't have any ties to Ukraine. We're not talking about South Korea, who we've had ties to since the Korean War.
Yeah, but
we're not talking about NATO. We're talking about a country we have nothing. Now, if NATO wants to get involved, more power to NATO.
But that's what our treaty is with them, to go in there and help the Ukraine.
Yeah, then let NATO figure out what they're going to do.
So
but it shouldn't involve U.S. troops. It should not involve.
We have that agreement. So you think we should just stay out of it?
Yes,
and not send any troops.
Exactly.
If Russia starts bombing or throwing nerve gas out in the Ukraine.
Well, listen, nerve gas and
if they
and just flat killing of innocent civilians for no good reason, that's a whole different issue. And then the UN and NATO would be on equal footing, and we would just go in.
Jerusalem. I mean, God, they've been pretty much at war.
Israel?
Yeah, they've been on the brink of war for years.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's been stopping it has been us. We haven't really done a whole lot except
how are we
show some muscle a little bit.
How do we stand up for everybody in the world though, just because we believe that it's the right thing?
Well, it's either that or there's going to be war forever everywhere.
There's going to be war forever everywhere anyway.
Yeah, there's no such thing as world peace.
You're never going to stop a war.
No, look.
We ignore the genocide in Darfur.
We ignore the genocide in Africa.
Yeah, Darfur, yeah. But yeah, all over Africa. We ignored it everywhere. We didn't get involved at all.
Because they're black. Let's put it out
No,
there.
it's because they're poor and there's nothing in their countries that we want. You know what's in Ukraine?
There is.
You know what's in Ukraine? Oil.
Yeah.
That's why the Russians want it. They want the oil.
Well, they also wanted their military basing,
and they want the port. Yeah,
yeah.
It's the only warm water port that they would have access to.
Yeah. Otherwise, the rest of them are all frozen over half the year.
Half the year, yeah. Listen, I don't see a point in getting us involved in Ukraine when it's a zero gain situation. You gain nothing if Ukraine doesn't go to the Russians. What do you gain? You don't gain an ally because they don't have anything to offer.
We lose a backbone.
We don't lose a backbone.
Yeah, it's like an argument that you have with let me try to put this
with your girlfriend that you live with, that you had a baby with, that lives upstairs with you?
No.
Love you, Sarah.
Not even that. I'm trying to think of something to reference this with, but I'm having a difficult time right now trying to think. But
I mean, just pick it. Listen, from a U.S. standpoint, there is no net gain to us getting involved in Ukraine. There's no gain. There's only loss. Loss of American soldiers.
Maybe they start exporting more oil to us.
Oil is not the answer. And by the way, we're not going to get any more oil. You saw how that worked out in Iraq, right? We liberated the country. We should have totally had access to all their oil at like a discount, and we got nothing. And oil prices went up. I just don't see a point. Now, Paul will disagree with me, right?
But now, hold on. The Ukraine has been, I believe, asking for help.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean we have to help.
But they're asking for help. A lot of places, they're literally asking, like, hey, we don't want Russia in here. Can you guys come please help stop it?
It's not our job. It's not our role, dude.
God.
I'm just saying it's not our role. Listen, there's no gain here. If Ukraine doesn't go to the Russia, what does the U.S. actually gain?
You're like one of those guys right now that if you were like, hey, can I borrow $50 and I'll pay you back when I get paid? based on what you're saying now, I'd be like, no, screw you, go away. I'm not going to give you $50.
No, because you have a net gain to get out of that.
No, it's not just that.
Because you know you're going to be giving back on your investment,
No,
and you know that if you ever,
and here's my point. Because
Okay, go ahead.
what you're saying right now,
yes,
I wouldn't believe that you were going to pay me back. I couldn't take you for your word. It's kind of the same thing. We said we'd help, but now all of a sudden we're like, hey,
who
no.
we? Who we?
In the treaty.
We who?
In
the treaty. Who said it?
Dude, the U.S.
No, but my point is, who said it though? The president and the Congress at the time, which is not even the president and Congress that we have now.
Doesn't matter. And we yet
at the time.
Hold on. And yet we still honor the. God,
I got you totally flustered. This is
God the. No, I'm having a hard time thinking tonight. The Constitution. We weren't around. Those people aren't around when they wrote it, but yet we still honor it.
Sure, and I'm not disagreeing with that. But
we still honor our treaty with England.
But
and Germany.
There's a net benefit to that. The U.S. benefits from that in trade, in equal support, all of that.
Man,
There is no benefit to us risking American lives on the ground in Ukraine.
We got Paul calling in, by the way.
Do we? Well, let's do this. Do you want to go to break and then bring him on during break?
Why is he? I didn't realize it was break time.
It is break time. Can you not do both at the same time?
No, it's too complicated.
All right, well, text him. Yeah. Text him. Tell him we're going to take a break, and we'll call him after break.
All right.
All right. We'll take a break. It's the Outlaw Radio Network. Des is sitting in. Des, what do you think we should do with Ukraine? Nobody cares. All right. I'll give you. You can think about it during break.
Okay.
All right. So Des is sitting in for St. Paul. I was right, by the way. I said he'd call before 9. Chalk one up for me. Strip running the boards. And I am K-Dog, the Loose Cannon. Stick around. More of the Outlaw Radio Network. Back after this.
Get outlawed.
As Kitsap County's largest maintenance provider, Team Innovative in Paulsbo provides commercial and residential maintenance to hundreds of millions of dollars of local real estate. With services including parking lot maintenance and street cleaning to landscape and design, Team Innovative is committed to using a green approach and following a strong environmental conscience. Team Innovative Services, 697-6858, or visit them online at getinnovative.net. Team Innovative Services, get serious, get innovative.
Brothers Power Sports has been a locally owned family business in Bremerton since 1949. From new and pre-owned motorcycles, ATVs, scooters, boats, and watercraft to parts and service and apparel. Brothers Power Sports is committed to being your source for all your motorsports needs, and they're a proud sponsor of the Habitat for Humanity of Kitsap County. Brothers Power Sports, 5205 First Street in Bremerton, and online at brotherspowersports.com. Stop in and feel the difference at Brothers Power Sports in Bremerton.
The Home Buyers Association of Kitsap County is an association of professional builders, subcontractors, service providers, and purveyors representing the home building industry. For more than 50 years, the Home Builders Association of Kitsap County has provided information, education, and services that promote the health and welfare of the home building industry. As leaders of the industry, the Home Builders Association of Kitsap County fosters safe, affordable housing and addresses issues affecting our industry. To find out more, visit them online at kitsap.hba.com.
Getting married, entertaining clients, or maybe you're just having a bash with your friends. No matter the occasion, make sure you plug into the tunes with E&M Entertainment. There are tons of DJs out there, but how many of them want to get to know you beforehand so they can play your soundtrack at your event at your kind of price? It's more than just a great selection. E&M plays your great selection, and that makes all the difference. So call 425-971-8078. That's 425-971-8078 for E&M Entertainment.
The Loft at Latitude 47.7 in Paulsbo is an amazing way to enjoy a night out on the town. At The Loft, they feature a full menu including fresh seafood, amazing appetizers, and tempting desserts. Plus, with Happy Hour Daily, you can enjoy great discounts on draft beer, house wines, and selected menu items. The Loft at Latitude 47.7, open 7 days a week at 18779 Front Street in Paulsbo, overlooking the beautiful Paulsbo waterfront. The Loft at Latitude 47.7, Paulsbo's only waterfront restaurant and bar.
Every time our country stands in the path of danger, an instinct seems to summon her finest first.
You're listening to the Outlaw Radio Network.
Outlaw.com.
It's always the patriots who first hear the call. For everyone within the sound of my voice, from my cold, dead hand.
All right, you're listening to the most popular internet radio show based in Kitsap County, coming from Stripper's Basement. It's the Outlaw Radio Network.
Did you just say Stripper's Basement?
Stripper. It's his nickname is Stripper.
I thought it was just Strip.
No, Strip came from Stripper.
Why does he have that nickname? Am I allowed
It's
to
a long
ask?
story. We'll tell it in the fourth hour.
Okay.
Thanks for checking out the show. 253-617-1440. We'll have St. Paul on the phone here in just a couple of moments. Des to my right. Strip running the boards. I am K-Dog the Loose Cannon. Thanks for checking out the show. When we get Paul on, I'm going to give Paul some of the comments that Obama made at the correspondence dinner last night. I want to get his opinion on a couple of those things. But before we do that, I asked you, Des, stop typing. Pay attention.
I am paying attention. I can double
I'm calling
test.
Paul right now, by the way.
Who's Julie? Is that your cousin?
Yeah, that's the little
The one that
red.
liked me? You're the one that liked me? Okay.
No, she did not like you at all. She actually cannot stand you.
Great.
She really hates you.
She hates me?
Yeah, she hates
In
you.
the fourth hour, I'm going to talk about Julia.
You know that song? She fucking hates me.
Yeah.
That's her song to you, man.
Hello.
Hello, is this St. Paul, the voice of reason?
On a good day.
You are live on the air, my friend. How are you?
I am good. I am good. How are you doing?
Good. Have you listened to any of the show tonight?
I have been using my extensive videography talents and videotaping a live psychic medium who literally used up my entire battery and video life, and yeah. So anyway,
Well, it's good to have you on, buddy.
That bad.
Hey, you know what I learned when I was in Vegas?
What'd you learn while you were in Vegas?
We need a casino in Bremerton.
You are right about that, by the way.
I know a great place
I saw
for
you
one, by the way.
post something about that on your feed, your news feed, and gosh golly darn it, we definitely need a casino in Bremerton.
Yes, we do.
Do you
So-
ever think that that's going to happen?
I think it will. Someday, yeah. Yeah, I think so.
How was your trip? How was your trip to Vegas?
It was phenomenal, dude. We talked about that for the first better part of the hour that you weren't on the show. But it was fabulous. It was awesome. It was great. I got a mess of pictures I'll put on my Facebook page later for anybody who wants to see that. Be sure to Facebook me and send me an ad request, and we'll have a whole bunch of pictures going. It was a blast. You need to take Hunter. Hold on. You need to take Hunter to Vegas. As much as you need to take Hunter, your oldest son, to Vegas. As much as
on his 18th birthday, I think I will absolutely take him to Vegas.
well, I think you should take him before then, because at his age, there's definitely a lot of things on there he can see and do that have nothing to do with gambling, drinking, or debauchery.
Oh no, Circus is awesome.
Well, Circus is great. I think because your son's a little bit of a history geek like his father. I think Caesar's Palace would wonder him. I think that the Shark Tank at Mandalay Bay was amazing. I think that I think he'd have a ball.
Dude, isn't that where they threw people to get rid of them in the James Bond film?
I don't believe so.
Oh no, that was Goldmember. Sharks with lasers.
And for Josh, who's sent me a message on Facebook, Chips Casino does not count as a casino for three reasons. One, it did not have slots, which is what a real casino is. Two, they only did cards. Okay, so they only had card games, so they were really nothing more than a glorified card room. And three, and most importantly, they're no longer even a card room anymore.
They're not. Well, what are they then?
I heard that they are going the way of just being a nightclub, night hotspot. They're not going to have any kind of gambling at all. That's what I heard. I could be wrong, but that's what I heard. So,
well, all the more better for somebody to build a casino in Bremerton. Although Chips was, if I understand correctly, Chips, if I recall, is just outside of the Bremerton city limits, is it not?
I think it's just inside the Bremerton city limits, isn't it? It's right.
No,
It's
right
right there
on
where
Road is the city
O'Gallagher's
limits.
used to be.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Rydell
matter.
Road is the city limits, which is why what was at the time Eagle Hardware is now called Lowe's, moved 250 meters away from its location where it was, so that it would be outside the city limits. Yeah.
So they don't have to pay that
Rydell Road
stupid
there is
B&O
the city
tax.
limits.
So they can avoid the
Yeah.
stupid B&O tax. Hey, I do know the perfect location for a casino in Bremerton. If anybody wants to know where that is, be sure to email me, kdog@outlawradionetwork.com. So, Paul, we were talking before the break, and I know that you haven't been a part of this, but we were talking about the situation in Ukraine.
Right,
and,
yeah.
And as I told Strip, I know you're going to blast me for this. I don't think that there is any advantage to the U.S. getting involved with boots on the ground or in any substantial way. I'm
not going to blast you for that. I understand that line of thinking.
I just think that Ukraine is a zero gain, all loss situation. Best case scenario is we put boots on the ground, we lose American servicemen and women, and it doesn't fall to the Russians. Worst case scenario is we put boots on the ground, we lose men and women, and it does go to the Russians, and we have even more egg on our face. Do you, as the guy on the other side of the aisle with this argument, do you agree with that, or does the treaty trump that?
I don't think the treaty trumps it, but what I will say is that when you say we have nothing to gain, it's not so much about what we have to gain as what we have to lose. And what we have to lose is our standing in the international community if we don't live up to our treaty obligations. That's what we have to lose. And I think that is an immense amount to lose or to risk losing. You know what I'm saying?
No, and I get that. And you and I have had that conversation before last week about the importance of us kind of standing by our word. Right. As I said before, if this isn't South Korea, this isn't the Philippines, this isn't Japan. Those are countries we have a vested interest in. Ukraine
did send troops to assist us in Afghanistan and Iraq.
They didn't send troops to assist us. They sent troops to either help the UN or NATO. They didn't send them in to help the U.S.
Well, yes, they were part of the coalition forces.
Yeah, that's part of what, NATO or the UN?
No, they were part of the coalition forces. Neither NATO nor the UN.
Okay.
It wasn't what went on in Afghanistan and Iraq was not a NATO or United Nations action. That was a United States having built a coalition action.
Okay. I just don't see. Listen, if we had to stand behind every single country that put troops into the coalition in Iraq, we'd be stretched uber thin.
Would we? I don't know. I understand. I respect that line of thinking, and I don't fault you for it. You know, it's a war. We are a war-weary nation right now, right? Would you agree?
Oh yeah, definitely. After Iraq and Afghanistan, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, and I think I said it on last week's show. Maybe it was the week before. You know, the reality here is that I don't think that the president. I don't think there's any right or wrong right now. Unfortunately, it's one of those things where only history will judge. Yes, I would rather see him do some things a little bit different, but who am I to say? I mean, how do we know what the right thing to do is going to be? We don't have a clue right now. So it just kind of is what it is.
Hey, I got a question for you about our fine president, who I voted for, and so did you.
No, I did not vote for him.
I love Barack. Did you hear his comments at the White House Correspondents' Dinner?
I did. I'm actually a geek, and I watched the whole thing from beginning to end.
How's this for cool? On my flight back from Long Beach, which is where my collecting flight was from Vegas, CNN was playing it live, and I watched it on the back of my the seat in front of me.
That's cool.
On the airline back. There was one that I'm going to read to you, and I want to get your thought on what he said with this. He said, and this is a quote, "While we're talking about sports, just last month, a wonderful story. An American won the Boston Marathon for the first time in 30 years, which is inspiring and only fair since a Kenyan has been president for the last 6. So,
yeah. Listen, I will tell you this: that man has a comedic sense about him. He did a better job than what was the name of the comedian?
Joel McHale?
Show? Yeah. Listen, Obama did a much better job than he did. That guy was horrible. Oh, good.
I thought McHale was fabulous. I thought his first joke was probably his best one when he talked about when he talked about Barack Obama, and he said, or as I don't know if it was Rand Paul he referenced, but one of the conservative on the right. He said, or as Rand Paul would call him, an inner-city minority relying on the federal government to house and feed his children.
Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff was witty, I listen. About a quarter of his jokes I found funny and humorous and witty. 3/4 of his jokes, listen. Humor is a lot of things to a lot of different people. I get that. You know, I mean, listen. Your sense of humor pisses a lot of people off, Kevin. But I get your sense of humor. You know, I think that this guy that. This is going to sound weird. Maybe I'm not going to make any sense when I say this, but I felt like the event was above him. He just did not seem polished enough to do the event. And there were a lot of rumblings that it was because there were a lot of big name talent, you know, turned him down.
Well, I know they wanted Jimmy Fallon and they couldn't get him booked.
Yeah, and Jimmy Fallon probably would have done a phenomenal job. But I felt this guy that hosted this show, what was his name again?
Joel McHale?
No, nobody fucking cares.
Watch your mouth. It's not the last hour.
Oh, you're... Gosh, G.
Willikers, yeah.
And I apologize. I was going into my rock mode. I just felt like he wasn't up to the challenge of that big of a stage and doing that live. I mean, he does the E-entertainment soap thing, right? I don't know. And some of his stuff was just it was like he was trying to be funny by being mean, and you know, sometimes that kind of humor works in some cases, but you know, it's like you got guys like Chris Christie and the guys from Duck Dynasty and some of the other folks that were there, and you just felt like he was taking personal steps beyond the comedic tale, and you know, it's okay. Like honestly, I thought one of the best lines of the night belonged to the president when he brought out Kathleen Sebelius to fix the broken video player.
Yeah, listen,
that was great comedy.
The one thing I didn't appreciate about the Joel McHale's bits was he kept going back to fat jokes on Chris Christie. Which
exactly.
I just thought was and maybe it's because I'm fat. Maybe it's because I'm fat. I get it. It just isn't funny.
Right, it's not funny. It's not. You know, you got a kid in a wheelchair with spina bifida. Is that funny? No, it's not. You could probably make jokes about it, but it's not funny.
We'll do that in the fourth hour.
You know, you want to crack jokes about Chris Christie and everybody waiting in line at the bridge. Okay, that's funny. But making jokes about a guy who, by the way, has struggled with weight his whole life and is trying to, you know, is dieting and had the lap band surgery and is trying to fix it. You know, that's not so funny. And you know, I'll tell you one of the most awkward bits I have seen in television in a long time. And I would invite you guys, anybody who's listening, to look it up on YouTube and watch it. Was the Don Lemon YouTube hosted, or not YouTube? I'm sorry, CNN bit after the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
Yeah,
and they had you know, he had 3 guys on the panel in the room with him, all 3 of which were left-leaning Democrats, and that was fine. That was no big deal. And all of them were talking about how funny they found all the stuff, right, that they were doing. And then they go, so, tell us what you thought of the comedy, Ben Stein. And Ben Stein's like, it was stupid.
Yeah, he wasn't a fan of either one of them.
He freaking ripped them, dude. Ben Stein just flat out ripped him. He was like, some of the stuff the president did was pretty funny. That was humorous. The president clearly has comedic timing. He's like, this guy, he's like, I didn't find anything he said funny. I mean, and Ben Stein just took this room full of people that were laughing and joking and having a good time. They were up here, and he brought them back down to earth.
Yep. And did you notice after he did that, they didn't bring Ben Stein on again either, anymore the rest of the night. Two lines I'll give you really quick. I love it when he ripped CNN, and I'm watching it on CNN. He
right,
said
that was too.
Yeah, here's what he said. He said, I want to thank the White House Correspondents Association for having us here tonight. I'm happy to be here, even though I'm a little jet-lagged from my trip to Malaysia. The lengths you have to go through to get CNN coverage these days. I think they're still searching for their table.
Listen, that was funny.
And then he said MSNBC is here. They're a little overwhelmed. They've never seen an audience this big before. I thought that was pretty funny as well. So
that was really funny, you know. Like I said, I did. Wait, that was the president who made those lines.
Yeah, those are all from B Rock. If you can spell what B Rock is cooking, yeah.
Right now, let's not be confused. The president did not write those jokes. Okay?
Oh, I'm sure he didn't, but he has timing to give them away.
Yeah, but his delivery and his timing was good. You know, he might have a future as a comic after he is out of the White House.
I'm just curious. Let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
Do we have? As I was watching this last night, I was just thinking, do we still have a place for this in politics?
White House correspondence?
Yeah, this kind of thing where people get together and just tell jokes about each other. Is there still a place for that, or is that old school pre-television, cronery? You know what I mean?
Here's why I think that's such a great question. And it's funny that because I was thinking something similar to that, but you kind of put it into the words I couldn't. And that was that.
I'm used to that.
That was that. One of the things that I noticed last night while I was watching was the jokes were a lot more personal. And they've gotten that way over the last several years as I've watched the event, you know? And it's kind of like, you know, one of these days it's going to, listen, it's not a roast, you know? It's one thing when it's a roast and you're an entertainer for a living and everything you do and everything around you is surrounded by comedy and you have the kind of sense of humor that no matter what somebody says, you can take it, right? There's a big difference, right?
Sure.
Between that and the folks at MSNBC or Fox News and some dude standing on stage cracking jokes that actually really cut. You know, jokes that are about that they're trying to make light of stuff that's actually really serious. And so I kind of, there were times during that where I was like, wow, this stuff is, you know, he's really making light of stuff that you shouldn't joke about, stuff that's very serious. And you know, yeah, you want to crack jokes, for example, about the Malaysian Airlines flight and CNN giving it too much coverage. A lot of people died on that airplane, probably. You know, I mean, it's, you know, okay.
Probably, he says.
Yeah, I'm just saying, unless, of course, you believe the conspiracy theorist and it's actually been taken over by U.S. military and it's a Diego Garcia. But, I mean, just see what I'm saying? It's just some of the stuff that they were poking fun at was very serious stuff of a very serious nature that a lot of people rightfully are taking umbrage with, you know? And it's serious stuff. And at some point, you got to ask yourself, you know, are we turning the White House Correspondents' Dinner into a roast of everybody that we can make fun of that, for example, is on the opposite political party? You know what I mean? And that's one of the things where I give the president a lot of credit for was that he probably made more jokes at himself and Democrats and MSNBC than he did, you know, anybody on the opposite side of the spectrum. You know, whereas the comic who was doing the job, again, don't remember his name.
Joe McHale.
Yeah, nobody cares.
I like Joe McHale. I think he's funny. I think Daniel Tosh would have been better, but go ahead.
You know what I'm saying, though.
Yeah.
Anyway, it just he seemed to take he made a lot of jokes at Democrats' expense, but he took a lot of stabs at conservatives.
He some of his stuff was very mean-spirited. I liked Obama's because most of Obama's was either self-deprecating or pretty innocent. You know, it was funny. You know, but even when he took a shot at Christie, the only thing he said about Christie was, I know Washington seems more dysfunctional than other. Gridlock has gotten this town so bad you have to wonder, what do we do to piss off Chris Christie? And that's that's funny, you know. Oh, gridlock. Oh, because of the bridge closing. You know,
it's a legitimate joke. That's not one of those out of boundaries kind of jokes.
Yeah, you know? And I don't think Obama took any swipes. But as I listened to this thing, I thought, you know, is this how much of it? At what point do the political correctness police show up and put a kibosh on things like this? Yeah. Because especially
I hope they don't. I hope it's the kind of thing that they get under control all on their own, and which is the way that it should be, I think. And the other thing that I'll say is, and this is going to sound weird coming from me, and I'm one of the president's biggest critics, but I have had a lot of respect for the president, both Bush and Obama, with how they have handled the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Okay? Now, I will say this. McHale told one joke last night that had me laughing so hard I damn near peed my pants, and I was crying. I was laughing so hard. And that's when he said, Bill and Hillary Clinton are about to become grandparents. Which, of course, begs the question, when Chelsea gives birth, do you give Bill Clinton a cigar? I was freaking rolling when that was said. I just could not stop laughing. So I give him credit for that one joke.
Yeah,
funny?
I thought it was okay. The one he said. What was the one he said before that? He said something about he said which means in a couple of months, because they were talking about how Chelsea's pregnant, which means in a couple of months we're gonna have a sequel to Bad Grandpa. Now I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah,
I thought that was pretty
I
good.
didn't actually get the joke. So,
Bad Grandpa was that movie with Johnny Knoxville dressed up as an old grandpa and
Right. No, I was just. I mean, it's like. But what's the joke? Are you insinuating that Bill Clinton's going to be a bad grandfather? I didn't. But I have a very dry sense of humor. Everybody that listens to this show knows it. So, it is what it is.
I found the transcript of what McHale was saying. I don't. He did say when he said Jeb Bush says he's thinking about running. While another Bush might be in the White House, is it already time for our every 10-year surprise party for Iraq? And then later he said, as it stands right now, the Republican presidential nominee will either be Jeb Bush, Rand Paul, or a bag of flour with Ronald Reagan's face drawn on it.
I mean, yeah, did that sound funny? I don't know. I was like, what's funny about that? I don't know. Maybe I just don't get it, but I was like, what? There's no, it's just not funny. Maybe the poor guy just has a bad team of joke writers. I don't know.
It's probably the same people that write for The Soup, which is I actually kind of like the show, but I just thought a lot of it was just too mean spirited, especially out of McHale, not out of Obama. I thought Obama did fine.
He did, and what I was going to say was I have an immense amount of respect for Obama and how he handles an event like this. After knowing a couple of years ago, he knew he'd already ordered the hit on Bin Laden. They were cracking jokes about him, and he kept a completely straight face, man. That boy went on not at all.
Yeah. The best. I'll leave with one more too. He was talking about Fox News, and first he said, speaking of conservative heroes, the Koch brothers bought a table here tonight, but as usual, they used a shadowy right-wing organization as a front. Hello, Fox News. And then he said, I'm just kidding. Let's face it, Fox, you'll miss me when I'm gone. It'll be harder to convince the American people that Hillary was born in Kenya. And I thought that was pretty witty. But I just, we've done so much in this country to water everything down in a way that's safe and not offensive for everybody. I can't help but think that somebody's going to show up at some point and go, yeah, I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit up there and tell jokes while we have American soldiers overseas and all of that,
Or how long is it going to be before somebody at that dinner picks up their roasted potato and throws it?
Or takes off their shoe and throws it.
Shut up, that's funny. Huh?
Or take off a shoe and throw it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Oh, my, yes.
Yes.
All right, well, I'm going to actually let you go here for 5 minutes. I just got home, and I got to run in the house and turn my computer on, and I will Skype in.
All right, well, we'll do that. And when you call back, I know that I've been saving this for you because I know that you want to talk about the Benghazi emails that were leaked this week. What that means, how it ties to the White House, what the White House should do, all of that. And so we're going to get into that in the next hour.
No pun intended, but it could be the smoking gun. Get it? Smoking gun.
We'll leave that alone. Yeah. So, all right, we'll talk about that.
I'll be right back.
All right, we'll talk to you in a little bit. We got top of the hour news coming up. Do you have any thoughts on the correspondence thing, Des? You didn't get a word in there anywhere.
I didn't see it, so
you should watch it when you go home tonight. Watch it.
Okay.
It's actually kind of funny. It's actually kind of cute.
Well,
Strip,
based on the comments, it does sound more like a roast than anything.
Yeah, it's kind of more like a roast. Did you see it, Strip, the correspondence stuff from yesterday? No? It's the first time I've ever watched it live. All right, we're going to take a break. Top of the hour news comes up here in just a little bit. After the news, we're going to get into the conversations about Benghazi because new emails came out this week that basically link the flow of information, if you will, in regards to Benghazi to whether or not we wanted the president to look bad or not. Now, to what extent this goes back to Obama, we'll find out from Paul. I'm sure that Paul's got some thoughts. But the question is, what does it mean? How badly does this hurt the Obama administration now? And does this rekindle the issue for potential impeachment, which is what was brought up before? There were some Republicans back when Benghazi happened that wanted Obama out of the White House because of it. and we'll find out if this has any kind of tie into that. So we'll take our top of the hour news break here in just a moment. We'll check in with the top of the hour news, and then we'll come back. It's the Outlaw Radio Network. Strip is on the board. St. Paul will join us by Skype, so we'll see his beautiful face on cam. Dez, the intern. You are the best intern on this show, by the way.
I'm the only one, supposedly.
Shut up. Take a compliment. Kate out the loose cannon. Stick around.
I just thought I should make the comment that Paul always makes.
That's right. Stay tuned. More of the Outlaw Radio Network. We're back after this on Edge Media Source.com. Oh, thanks.
Get outlawed.
From NPR News in Washington, I'm Jim Hawk. Some Democrats are criticizing House Speaker John Boehner's move, opening another investigation into the attack on the U.S. consulate in Benghazi in September of 2012. NPR's Sonari Glinton reports the Speaker called for a special investigative panel to look into the attack in Libya that left 4 Americans dead.
Emails were released that shed light on how the White House responded to the attack. Republicans are calling them a smoking gun and say that the White House was playing politics before that year's presidential election. Here's New Hampshire Senator Kelly Ayotte speaking on Fox News Sunday.
And the latest revelation from the White House really tells us that we need this select committee.
Here's House Democrat Adam Schiff speaking on the same program.
I don't think it makes sense for us to give this select committee any more credibility than it deserves, and frankly, I don't think it deserves very much.
Schiff says Democrats need not participate in the latest investigation since previous ones found no wrongdoing. Sonari Glinton, NPR News.
In Northern Ireland, police have freed Sinn Féin President Gerry Adams without charge after questioning him for nearly 5 days. As Larry Miller reports, Adams was arrested on suspicion of being involved in the 1972 murder of a mother of 10 by the Irish Republican Army.
The release of Adams suggests the police did not have sufficient evidence to charge him with Jean McConville's abduction and murder. However, the issue isn't resolved because their file has been sent to prosecutors who will decide whether there's a likelihood of a conviction if the case is taken to court. Adams, now a member of the Irish Parliament, is a key figure in the Northern Ireland peace process, and his arrest has angered his Sinn Féin colleagues, who say it was politically motivated and an attempt by the police to settle what they called old scores. Former IRA members claim Adams ordered McConville killed in the mistaken belief she was a British informer. Adams denies it. For NPR News, I'm Larry Miller in London.
At least 9 performers were seriously injured Sunday during a high-wire circus act in Providence, Rhode Island. Stephen Payne, a spokesman for Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus, said aerialists were performing when a frame they were hanging from tore loose from a metal truss.
Our thoughts and prayers are with the performers and their families, and for a safe and speedy recovery. And we do hope that we are able to, they're able to come back and continue performing with the greatest show on earth.
None of the injuries appeared to be life-threatening, and Ringling Brothers says the hair-hanging stunt won't return to the show until the investigation finds what went wrong. A vintage biplane has crashed while performing at a Northern California air show, and the pilot was killed. The Stearman biplane was part of the Thunder over Solano air show at Travis Air Force Base near Fairfield. No spectators were injured. The National Transportation Safety Board will head up the investigation. You're listening to NPR News in Washington. The first openly gay bishop in the Anglican Communion has announced he is getting a divorce. As NPR's Ramona Martinez reports, the election of Gene Robinson as Bishop of New Hampshire in 2003 alienated conservative Anglicans and diverged from thousands of years of Christian tradition.
Hundreds of parishes left the American Episcopal Church in protest of Robinson's consecration and aligned themselves with more conservative branches of the Greater Church. The Anglican Communion is made up of international branches of the Church of England, which share a common faith but do not have to agree on every issue. For example, the Church of England has only recently allowed women to be elected as bishops, while female bishops have existed in the Episcopal Church for decades. Robinson officially married his partner when it became legal in New Hampshire. In his editorial for the Daily Beast, Robinson wrote that his belief in marriage is undiminished by his divorce, and that love can endure, even if a marriage cannot. Ramona Martinez, NPR News, Washington.
Coca-Cola is dropping a controversial ingredient from its Powerade sports drink after a similar move by PepsiCo's Gatorade last year. The ingredient, brominated vegetable oil, had been the target of a petition by a Mississippi teen who questioned why it was being used in a drink marketed toward health-conscious athletes. The petition on change.org noted that the ingredient is linked to a flame retardant and is not approved for use in Japan or the European Union. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is the weekend's top movie, opening with an estimated $92 million. Last week's #1 film, the female revenge comedy The Other Woman, falls to second. Heaven is for Real came in third. I'm Jim Hawk, NPR News in Washington.
As Kitsap County's largest maintenance provider, Team Innovative in Paulsbo provides commercial and residential maintenance to hundreds of millions of dollars of local real estate. With services including parking lot maintenance and street cleaning to landscape and design, Team Innovative is committed to using a green approach and following a strong environmental conscience. Team Innovative Services, 697-6858, or visit them online at getinnovative.net. Team Innovative Services, get serious, get innovative.
Brothers Power Sports has been a locally owned family business in Bremerton since 1949. From new and pre-owned motorcycles, ATVs, scooters, boats, and watercraft to parts and service and apparel. Brothers Power Sports is committed to being your source for all your motorsports needs, and they're a proud sponsor of the Habitat for Humanity of Kitsap County. Brothers Power Sports, 5205 First Street in Bremerton, and online at brotherspowersports.com. Stop in and feel the difference at Brothers Power Sports in Bremerton.
Shepherds we shall be, for thee, my Lord, for thee. Our help send forth from thy hand. Quickly carry out thy command. We shall flow ever forth to thee, and teeming with souls shall it ever be. In nomine Patri, et Filii, Spiritus Sancti.
I'll catch you on. I'll catch you on. I'll catch you on the flip side. Flip side.
You're listening to the Outlaw Radio Network. OutlawRadioNetwork.com.
What in the hell are you watching, Des?
I'm watching the incredibly awkward skit that Andrew Garfield and Emma Watson did for us. Or not Emma Watson, Emma Stone did for SNL.
You watch some weird stuff during break. Just some really bizarre things. That's all I have to say. Outlaw Radio Network, 253-617-1440. Des in studio to my right. Strip running the boards. St. Paul, the voice of reason, is joining us live from the St. Paul compound. Paul, are you there?
I'm watching.
Oh, for God's sakes. Turn down your speakers there, Paul.
Just so everybody knows how late it is.
Yeah, that is better. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you doing?
But are you watching the video feed?
I am watching it now. Yes.
Okay, so I've been waiting until you were on the show to show everybody my new shirt because I like the new shirt. The new shirt is cool, but it does a really cool little trick. You ready? So, and Paul, you're going to get it on a delay because your delay. So
sure.
There we go. So,
it's okay.
So I don't know how well did that show up pretty well on the screen there?
Yeah, I can see a silhouette of a guy with headphones on.
Yeah. Do you see what it's doing now? Give it a second. Just watch your feed.
Once the delay's over.
Because it's got the delay going on.
Yeah.
Oh, look, it's Wyatt.
It's Truan.
All right, Truan. Sorry.
Wow.
What the hell's wrong with me?
I know, right? I'm sitting there. I'm just thinking, wrong child, wrong
child.
person.
All right, sorry, I'm an idiot.
Wrong father.
All right, so do you see it yet? I'm not sure how well it shows up on camera.
Well, I'll tell you. Oh, wow! It kind of like glows or something.
Yeah, it glows in response to sound. So I'm going to wear this when I DJ next weekend, and so whenever there's
did you find a shirt like that?
Yeah, I got it on. I got it in Vegas under Paris.
Yeah, but did you find out where you can order more of those?
I can find it online if you'd like. You want one too? I bought one for me and one for DJ Mikey Malone. Because we're DJ brothers and all that. So, is it distracting? You think for me to wear this during the show?
No, it's not distracting at all.
All right, I'm going to leave it on for a little while then. All right, so let's switch gears here really quick, and I'll just say hello to the beautiful one that I know is listening to the show right now. Hey, let's switch gears and go to this thing that's going on with the smoking gun, as you called it. So, give us an idea of what the emails say and how you feel it's going to reflect in regards to the Obama administration.
Well, first of all, when Barack Obama was up for re-election, okay, in 2012, and the incident that had happened on September 11th, 2012 occurred, a lot of people made the claim. They said, hey, listen, these guys were there. They were under attack for 11 hours. No help was ever forthcoming. Where was the president? What was going on? How come there wasn't additional security? It was the anniversary of September 11th. People had a right to know and be able to understand exactly what was going on, right? I mean, there's nothing I've said there is controversial. That's all very true, right?
Right.
Okay. Now, in under our prep stuff for the show, now I put in there some extra, some material, right? Some videos and some feeds and stuff. Did you guys see those?
I saw some of them.
Okay.
I just got back from Vegas. I'm a little slow.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right. Some of the things that I found interesting. First of all, the House has subpoenaed all of the emails and everything that has to do with these emails now going on for a year and a half, almost 2 years. And they were never able to get anything except emails that were full of redactions. Okay, that's, for those that are wondering, that's stuff that's blacked out, black ink, right? So you can't see anything. Okay, well, a website, I believe called Judicial Watch, through the Freedom of Information Act, sued the federal government to have all the emails with regards to Benghazi released to them. Well, they got released all right. And in point of fact, they got released without the redactions. And when they got released without the redactions, all of a sudden there was a uh-oh moment. Why? Because some of the emails that got released were from Ben Stone, the president's one of the presidential advisors, direct right-hand link to the president. Okay.
Right.
Now, in those emails, he specifically stated that, in point of fact, this was 2 days after. So the attacks occurred on the 11th. These emails occurred on between the 13th and 14th. And Susan Rice went on national TV and on the television shows on Sunday, the 15th. Okay?
16th.
So that's how fast all of this happened.
Okay.
What's that? Somebody say something?
Des said the 16th.
Yeah.
Okay, 16th. And having said that, what then occurred was Susan Rice going on in all these television shows stating, well, all of these attacks occurred because of an internet video that was put out that was very much anti-Islam, and that caused all the Muslims to get really mad and hold all of these violent, nasty demonstrations. Okay? Right? Nothing I've said there is controversial or wrong. Okay? The problem is that that's not why what had happened in Benghazi happened. Okay? So what the emails illustrated is exactly how the White House shaped the talking points for a very specific reason. And in the emails, it states what that reason was. Okay? Let me read you here what I have here. An email from then White House Deputy Strategic Communications Advisor Ben Rhodes, the brother, by the way, of CBS News President David Rhodes. Yes, the same CBS that decided that they were going to bury Cheryl Atkinson's stories on Benghazi. Go figure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now, she's the 25-year vet. Sorry.
Oh, you got to turn that down.
I did.
Thank you. All right.
Paused. It's one of those stupid things where the video automatically plays. It's my bad. Rhodes, he listed several goals for then United Nations Ambassador Susan Rice as she prepared to go on political talk shows just a few days after the September 11th attacks. Rhodes wrote that one quote-unquote goal for Susan Rice was to underscore that the protests are rooted in an internet video and not a broader failure of policy. Another stated goal was to reinforce the president and administration's strength. Now, you got to remember, one of the big pushes by President Obama and Vice President Biden was what? What was their catchphrase? Osama bin Laden is dead, General Motors is alive. Right?
Right.
Part of their big push to get reelected was that they were tough in their foreign policy stance and that they had eradicated Al-Qaeda. So this attack, you might say, well, still, what evidence is there that it wasn't spawned by an internet video? Okay, well, they knew within hours, according to the generals that testified, that this was not, it had nothing to do with the internet video, that this attack was not spontaneous, that it was well coordinated and planned, and heavy weapons were being used. That tells you everything you needed to know, because there were several demonstrations going on around the Mideast: Khartoum, Tunis, Egypt. So those were peaceful attacks, and those were protests where people were actively, openly protesting this internet video. What occurred in Benghazi was nothing of the sort. It was just a flat-out coordinated attack. Now, there's a lot of speculation at this point in time, and apparently a lot of people, there are definitely people that have proof that the attack was coordinated at Benghazi for a very specific reason, because the United States was using it as a way station for heavy weapons and munitions that were being run to rebels in Syria. So there's still a lot of vetting going on that, so I don't want to put that out there and say that is what was happening, but that's what it looks like was happening, and that was the goal of the attack on the station in Benghazi. Congressional Republicans say that the new email shows a deliberate attempt by the White House to put politics ahead of the facts in the weeks before the president's re-election. It demonstrates for the first time that the direction on the talking points came directly out of the White House, said Jason Chaffetz from Utah. Senator Lindsey Graham told Newsmax that the emails amounted to a smoking gun. It shows political operatives in the White House working to create a political narrative at odds with the facts. White House spokesman Jay Carney on this last Wednesday, said that the recommendations from Rhodes were not about Benghazi specifically, but the general situation in the Muslim world, where you saw protests out of the embassy facilities across the region. Now, of course, the White House is going to try to spin this, but can I just be honest here when I say this? This is the first time in my career commenting on politics where you have a situation where the White House is literally saying to you, don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain. The sky's not blue. You know, it's so heavily goes against the facts that we're looking at from these emails. The emails specifically discuss Susan Rice going out there and spinning what happened in Benghazi to try to make it sound like it was entirely about the internet video. Now,
have you seen the email, or I mean, have you seen the actual email?
Yes, you can go.
I'm looking at it. That's why I asked.
What's that?
I'm looking at it. That's why I asked.
Do you want? I'm not looking at it. Why don't you read it?
So here's what it says. It's from Benjamin Rhodes, and it's sent to a number of different people. One of which is Rex and Y Ryu, Ryu, whatever. And this is for the prep. The subject line says prep call with Susan Saturday at 4:00 p.m. Now, under the goals, here's what it says for the goals. Is one of these goals what you talked about. One, to convey that the United States is doing everything that we can to protect our people and facilities abroad. The next one is to underscore that these protests are rooted in an internet video and not a broader failure of policy. 3 is to show that we will be resolute in bringing people who harm Americans to justice and standing steadfast through these protests. And 4, to reinforce the president and administration's strength and steadiness in dealing with difficult challenges. Then they list several different things that they call top lines. Now, I think top lines are just the major talking points. It says, top line number 1, since we begin to see protests in response to this internet video, the president has directed the administration to take a number of steps. His top priority has been the safety and security of all Americans serving abroad. The next one is, first, since we significantly increased security at our diplomatic posts around the globe with additional resources from across the government, the safety and security of our personnel is paramount and under constant review. Second, we have reached out to governments in the region to make sure they are cooperating closely with us and meeting their obligations to protect diplomatic facilities as best they can. For instance, we've seen cooperation from Yemen and Egypt to cooperate significantly with President Obama after he called those leaders. Third, we've made our views on the video crystal clear. The United States government had nothing to do with it. We reject its message and its content. We find it disgusting and reprehensible, but there is absolutely no justification at all for responding to this movie with violence, and we are working to make sure that people around the globe hear that. Fourth, we've encouraged leaders around the globe to speak out against the violence, and you've seen very important statements in the Muslim world by people like Prime Minister Erdogan of Turkey, President Morsi of Egypt, and others who have condemned the violence and called for a peaceful resolution. I think that some people have come to trust that President Obama provides leadership that is steady and statesmanlike. There are always going to be challenges that emerge around the world, and time and again he's shown that he can meet them. Now, let me give you my, and then on the second part of this, there's a number of different potential questions.
Before you say that, can we have Caleb prep the video where that's in our room that says video, this is awesome? That's just the line that I put in there, so I'd know which one it was. It says, father of Navy SEAL killed in Benghazi speaks out.
Caleb, did you hear that?
It's the first, as you go down the list, it's the first video posted. Father of Navy SEAL is in the tagline. So, okay, Kevin, go ahead.
I think he's working on it. Okay. The initial thought for me as I read through this email, okay, none of this talks about hiding. How do I explain this? It sounds to me like this is just an email where they actually believe it's coming as a result of the movie. Was there ever a point in this in the administration? You would know this better than I would. Was there ever a point in the administration that they really did honestly think it was caused in part by the video? Or did they always know the entire time that this was something different?
It's okay. It's easy to take that stance when that's what you want to believe. And I'm not talking about you specifically. Because I think you ask a very rational question. The problem is that the generals on the ground, the ranking military officers, the CIA and the FBI have all said, we didn't change the talking points. We didn't have anything to do. We knew at the outset that this was not about the internet video. So if all of your intelligence agencies know that this is not about an internet video, you know that the White House knew this was not about a video. You follow me?
I do. All right.
So what they did was they said, okay, you know what? We don't need to make this look like the president was asleep at the wheel. And by the way, do you know where the president was at during that time frame? Mind you, our embassy is under attack.
I have no idea.
Yeah, neither does anybody else. The only thing that the White House released was that the president was not in the Situation Room. So I find that to be problematic, honestly, because when your embassy is under attack, like in a situation like that, that's absolutely where the president should be. So, in fact, at one point, the president's spokesperson Jay Carney had said the president had gone to bed at 5 o'clock that evening. It's just there's so much spin coming out about this that it's gotten to the point where the people they just don't believe any of it.
Caleb has the video ready, by the way, whenever you're ready.
Okay, yeah. Let's let him go ahead and play, because this has several different snippets, but it has the first part of it to me is reprehensible. It's a former White House spokesman or deputy spokesman or something like that. It'll give his title anyway. He makes the point, it's been 2 years, why are we talking about this? Somebody ought to grab him by his scruffy little sweater and punch him in the face. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. But go ahead and play it.
Okay, here we go on Outlaw Radio Network.
Maybe, I don't really remember.
You don't remember?
Dude, this was like 2 years ago. We're still talking about the most
Dude,
mundane
it is the thing
process
that
of
everybody is
editing.
talking about.
We're talking about the process of editing talking points. That's what bureaucrats do all day long. Your producers edit scripts multiple times.
Really, dude? Are you kidding me? Now, sadly, that remark came just hours after the top Democrat in the House, Nancy Pelosi, made this outrageous comment and also tried to dismiss any and all Benghazi talk. Watch this.
What I will say is, again, diversion, subterfuge. Benghazi, Benghazi, Benghazi. Why aren't we talking about something else? Whatever was in that, what I know of what I've read in the press about the those emails were very consistent with what was put out there before. I don't think there's anything new there.
All right, here with reaction to this unbelievable insensitivity is someone who definitely does care about what happened 2 years ago. That's the father of Ty Woods. He was a hero that day on September 11, 2012. He saved a lot of people's lives, and he was killed for his efforts. Charles Woods, the father of Ty, thanks for being back on the program. What is your reaction to dude that's like 2 years ago and Nancy Pelosi's comments? What's your reaction to that?
Well, first of all, Sean, I want to thank you for not allowing the Benghazi betrayal to be swept under the rug. The good news is what we heard this morning, and that is that there is going to be a select committee, and that is an answer to prayer. The people of the United States, as well as the families, need to know what actually happened.
Yeah. Now, they have claimed, and Jay Carney all this week said the Ben Rhodes memo had nothing to do with Benghazi, but yet it was 3 days after your son was killed and 3 other people were killed. Do you buy that explanation?
Oh, no, of course not. This was about Benghazi, and that was why it was released. The court said it was about Benghazi because this was a court-ordered document that had to be released. I actually looked at that. And basically, the smoking gun of this document was where they said, emphasize that the protests were rooted in the internet video and that it was not a broader failure of foreign policy. Yeah. And the foreign policy of Obama that failed was this. Gaddafi was an enemy of al-Qaeda. He tried to get rid of al-Qaeda. When Obama decided to get rid of Gaddafi, Obama sent millions of dollars worth of weapons to al-Qaeda-related terrorist groups in Libya. They used those American-provided weapons to get rid of Gaddafi. And then the bloodshed didn't discontinue, but it culminated in the attack upon the consulate in Benghazi, which resulted in the death of American heroes. So the failure of Obama's policy was that the weapons and the material aid that was given to al-Qaeda resulted in the death of these 4 American heroes.
Let me play for you, and I mentioned November 28th of 2012. This is a similar statement made by Jay Carney, May 8th, 2013, saying that the White House's only involvement with the talking points and the State Department's only involvement in the talking points was just changing the name consulate. Let me play this for you in light of the Rhodes memo and what it means for you.
CIA drafted these talking points and redrafted these talking points. The fact that there are inputs is always the case in a process like this. But the only edits made by anyone here at the White House were stylistic and non-substantive. They corrected the description of the building or the facility in Benghazi from consulate to diplomatic facility.
What's your reaction to that?
You know, this is
do you
just
feel you were
part of...
lied to, in other words? Do you feel they have purposefully lied to you? You met the president. You met the Secretary of State, then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. You looked them in the eye?
That's exactly right. This memo, it came out on the 12th. I'm sorry, on the 14th. This was about the same time that I met Hillary Clinton when the bodies came into Andrews Air Force Base. And I think I mentioned this to you before. Hillary Clinton came up to me, and I gave her a handshake and a hug, And then when I shook her hand, she said to me, "We are going to have the filmmaker arrested." Even at that time, she was trying to place a spin on what happened. It wasn't a result of a video. They had 2 drones above the battle in Benghazi feeding real-time video to the Situation Room in the White House. They could see as it was happening on September the 11th and then September 12th. For 7 or 8 hours, they watched this battle happen. They didn't watch a video protest. They watched a battle with militants that were associated with Al-Qaeda.
Yeah. Now, earlier this week, we had testimony. Brigadier General, retired Brigadier General Robert Lavelle testifying the military should have tried to intervene. Now, we've talked to you about your son, and he was told to stand down, was he not?
I have actually talked to the reporter on the ground that talked to Ty's friend, who was there, who said, yes, Ty was told on more than one occasion to stand down and not to go rescue.
And as far as you know, he disobeyed orders and went to fight, and as a result lost his life trying to save other people's lives. As a matter of fact, successfully saving other people's lives. That was your son, right?
That was the type of hero Ty was. He was going to jeopardize his life as well as his military career so that he could do the right thing and rescue. And when he went to rescue, he knew that his life was in jeopardy because he wasn't going to be rescued if he got in trouble, if they weren't going to go ahead and rescue the 30-some people at the consulate.
All right, let me play Brigadier General Robert Lavelle, and he testified the military should have tried to intervene because this went on for hours, and it took a while, and I want to get your reaction to what he said this week.
There are accounts of time, space, and capability, discussions of the question, could we have gotten there in time to make a difference? Well, the discussion is not could or could not of time, space, and capability. The point is we should have tried.
We should have tried. This went on for hours.
And there was no attempt made. As many military people have said, within an hour to an hour and a half, they could have had jets from Italy above the battle at Benghazi. Whether they were armed or not, at least they could have broken the sound barrier. They could have dispersed and caused confusion on the battlefield. Even that was not done.
Well, we learned
no attempt was made.
We learned that Mr. Viter was on with Brett Baer making a fool of himself, saying, dude, that's 2 years ago last night. We learned he was in the Situation Room. President Obama was not in the Situation Room. What would you like to ask the president if you had a chance?
Well, I did ask this question of the president last September. I sent a letter to him, and I said, if this had been a member of your family, Mr. President, would your rescue attempts have been more aggressive? And his response to me lacked credibility. He said, if it had been a member of my family, I would have basically done nothing different. And I have a hard time believing that because I know personally as a father, if my son had cried out for help, I would have done everything in my ability to do that. I wouldn't have gone upstairs and gone to bed. I wouldn't have gone raising campaign funds the next day. I would not have rested until the maximum effort had been done by our military, which is the greatest military in the world, to make sure that there was a rescue attempt.
Do we even know definitively where the president was that night? I don't think we don't know.
It would be nice to know where he was and where Hillary Clinton was as well.
All right, so that's the clip.
Yeah.
All right, you want to chime in your thoughts?
Well, I know we need to go to break. So why don't we just put our final thoughts out there when we come back from break, huh?
All right, mute your microphone.
Muting.
We'll take a break. We come back at a break. We'll discuss our thoughts from that conversation. Des, you listened. Do you have thoughts on it? You're going to share after the break too?
Sure.
We have people waiting with bated breath to hear what Des has to say. So Outlaw Radio Network, St. Paul, the voice of reason for the compound. His new compound, he moved. So he's even more in the middle of nowhere. Des is here, strip running the boards. Caleb the loose cannon. Stick around. We'll complete this topic and move on to the next one after the break on EdgeMediaSource.com. Love this shirt. Hi, Eric Christensen. Sorry about your ADD.
get outlawed.
As Kitsap County's largest maintenance provider, Team Innovative in Paulsbo provides commercial and residential maintenance to hundreds of millions of dollars of local real estate. With services including parking lot maintenance and street cleaning to landscape and design, Team Innovative is committed to using a green approach and following a strong environmental conscience. Team Innovative Services, 697-6858, or visit them online at getinnovative.net. Team Innovative Services, get serious, get innovative.
Brothers Power Sports has been a locally owned family business in Bremerton since 1949. From new and pre-owned motorcycles, ATVs, scooters, boats, and watercraft to parts and service and apparel. Brothers Power Sports is committed to being your source for all your motorsports needs, and they're a proud sponsor of the Habitat for Humanity of Kitsap County. Brothers Power Sports, 5205 First Street in Bremerton, and online at brotherspowersports.com. Stop in and feel the difference at Brothers Power Sports in Bremerton.
The Home Buyers Association of Kitsap County is an association of professional builders, subcontractors, service providers, and purveyors representing the home building industry. For more than 50 years, the Home Builders Association of Kitsap County has provided information, education, and services that promote the health and welfare of the home building industry. As leaders of the industry, the Home Builders Association of Kitsap County fosters safe, affordable housing and addresses issues affecting our industry. To find out more, visit them online at kitsapHBA.com.
Getting married, entertaining clients, or maybe you're just having a bash with your friends. No matter the occasion, make sure you plug into the tunes with E&M Entertainment. There are tons of DJs out there, but how many of them want to get to know you beforehand so they can play your soundtrack at your event at your kind of price? It's more than just a great selection. E&M plays your great selection, and that makes all the difference. So call 425-971-8078. That's 425-971-8078 for E&M Entertainment.
The Loft at Latitude 47.7 in Paulsbo is an amazing way to enjoy a night out on the town. At The Loft, they feature a full menu including fresh seafood, amazing appetizers, and tempting desserts. Plus, with Happy Hour Daily, you can enjoy great discounts on draft beer, house wines, and selected menu items. The Loft at Latitude 47.7, open 7 days a week at 18779 Front Street in Paulsbo, overlooking the beautiful Paulsbo waterfront. The Loft at Latitude 47.7, Paulsbo's only waterfront restaurant and bar. All right, Outlaw Radio Network, 935. Thanks for checking out the show. Strip, running the boards as always. Doing an outstanding job, Strip. Did you know that you're great? You knew that. Des is in studio. St. Paul is joining us from the compound, although he's not at his camera, so we'll give it a couple of moments. Des, talk really quick. What did you think about the video that we played before the break and the situation with what happened in Benghazi and the potential for some kind of a
I agree with the father completely.
Do you?
Yeah.
You agree with who?
The
Oh, look, it's Paul. Hello, Paul.
Wait, who did she say she agrees with? That's what I was trying to hear.
I agree with his father, the gentleman's father.
Right.
They do need to know.
So you're agreeing with St. Paul then, because I'm right there in that camp.
Sure.
Yeah.
She does not want to agree with St. Paul, but she's doing it
No,
anyway.
I mean, I do believe that the families deserve to know exactly what happened. I mean, those are their loved ones that have died. Everybody knew it was a cover-up to begin with. So, just the fact that evidence, released doesn't really change my view on it. I knew it was a cover-up all along.
Well, I don't... Listen, I don't
still has a hard time. The 20-year-old Desiree knows it was a cover-up, and she's not even political.
Hold on, I'm not saying there's not a cover-up. I've never said there wasn't a cover-up. But there's nothing in this...
Kevin, just say, okay, I admit it. Clearly, after reading these emails, there was a cover-up.
No, hold on. Let me talk. Okay, let me say this. There's nothing in the email that's a smoking gun. There just isn't. The email says, hey, this is about the video. It does not say anything that alludes to, hey, make sure you cover up or make sure you hide.
They don't have to say that. They knew when that email was written that it was a militant action and it had nothing to do with the video. That's the point. They knew within hours of the attack, according to the FBI, the CIA, and the military commanders. They all knew that this was a militant attack. You cannot say that, well, this email only had... That's why this is such a bogus cover-up. It's like you're completely ignoring one overwhelming fact, and that is that they knew this didn't have anything to do with the video.
Well, again, I'm just saying I don't see anything in the email that speaks to the cover-up. You know what I mean? Like it would be now. Hold on,
you're changing of the talking points in order to meet the president's narrative in his bid to seek re-election.
Right. Let me finish.
Okay, go ahead.
The email infers push the theory about the internet movie. That's what it would be different for me if the video said, "Do not acknowledge Al Qaeda's." You know what I mean? If it said, and I'm not saying there's not a cover up. This email doesn't fit the smoking gun. As far as the interview with the father, my heart breaks for the guy. But talking to family members about military people that have passed is the worst possible interview, because what else are they going to say? My son was a husband. He died protecting his country. His death could have been avoided. It's Cindy Sheehan all over again.
That's not what this conversation's about.
Not all are like that either.
Well, I don't know, but the only ones that the media gets a hold of are the ones that want to demand answers.
Pick out ones that are like that, though.
Yeah, but
I'm not. You can't say that every single family's like that, though. They will find the families that are like that.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying, whenever they interview a member of a family from somebody who's died, it's always one of these people that we're angry, we want answers, we want to hold people accountable because my son died. Well, he died because he volunteered to serve as a member of the armed forces. Now, that is risk and regiment of anybody who puts on a uniform. Now, the risk should be tempered by the leaders of the day to not put them in situations that are stupid. But just interviewing the father, I always think those are in low class, low taste. And I thought the same thing with Cindy Sheehan. Okay, and she was on the left side of the fence, and she was picking it outside of Bush's ranch. And so it's not a matter of left or right. It's just a matter, I don't think they should interview these parents because they're clearly biased in the hunt because they lost their kid. But nothing that he added was anything that was new or credible anyway. So the interview with the father was just, let's restate the stuff that we already know, and let's play on heartstrings.
Kevin, you're going off on a tangent that doesn't have anything to do with the email.
What I'm saying is most of the interview had nothing to do with the email.
You're just trying to make your point. But you're getting away from really what matters here. You're getting away from the fact that the president was up for election. His narrative was that his foreign policy was working, right? Am I right?
Yeah.
And his narrative was that Osama bin Laden was dead, General Motors was alive. That was part of their campaign slogan, right?
Right.
And so the email goes on to talk about how they have to make the president look a certain way, don't they? And that email was done on what date?
The date of the email, let me go back to it. Hold on.
I can tell you.
The date of the email is... Go ahead, tell us, because this computer is slow.
The date of the email was 2 days after the event. It was the 13th. Okay? On the 11th, the night of the 11th, they knew that this was a terrorist attack. So the White House was already told by the CIA, the FBI, and the military commanders on the ground what was going on. They already knew. This was a direct attempt at obfuscation in order to secure the president's legacy by making him look a certain way in the eyes of the public.
Do you think this is impeachable?
No. No, I don't.
Okay.
I know some people want to try to suggest it is, but I'm sorry, just being a poor leader and trying to make yourself look a certain way for political needs,
right?
It to me is not, I'm sorry, it's just not an impeachable offense. It's not treasonous or anything else. It's just incompetence. It's lying to the American people to save face. It's not an impeachable offense. I differ that, you know, some Republicans try to suggest, oh, this is as bad or worse than Watergate. Well, no, I don't know necessarily nobody died as a result of Watergate, but it isn't. Listen, again.
Well, but hold on though. But hold on, because I don't think the two relate though, right? So the issue
about whether or not one's as bad as the other.
What I mean is there's two separate angles to this Benghazi angle, right? One is, was there an attempt afterwards to cover up what happened so the president didn't look bad? And the first one is, was Benghazi mismanaged? And I feel like they're two very independent questions, right? One, was there a mistake at Benghazi? And two, did they actively try to cover up what happened so the president didn't look bad? And I think if you take that and you put that on the same track with Watergate, I think they're very similar. The second half of that equation, which is, what are you covering up? What are you hiding? What are you lying about? And I think that in itself could be equal to Watergate. Now, the act itself is a whole different argument, a whole different point of discussion. The father was like, well, you could have jets in the air 2 hours later, and they would at least create a sonic boom that would disperse people. I think that's a ridiculous argument. But
no, it's not.
But there is valid points with the length of the siege and the length of the attack.
No, I think you're completely missing the point. A military response is still a military response, Kevin. And if you have a couple of F-16s flying nap of the earth over that location and what's going on, his point, you know that they would have been armed. His point was they wouldn't even have to have been armed, because F-16s flying at the nap of the earth over that location would have at least provided some degree of confusion on the battlefield. And he's 100% right about that. Again, your battles are won and lost based on confusion on the battlefield. So it's not a ridiculous point for him to make. And his only point about, you haven't heard him complain about losing his son, Kevin. What you've heard him say is that the president and the Secretary of State Hillary Clinton looked at me in the eyes, shook my hand, and lied to my face about the events that occurred. Okay? You have every right to be pissed about that. And the American people have every right to be pissed about that, because the American people were deliberately lied to in order for the president and Hillary Clinton to save face during an election. That's something worth being pissed off about.
No, and I agree with that. What I was getting at a minute ago is I think that there's two angles. There's two different questions. That one is bad, right? The cover up itself is bad. If it's true and if it can be traced back to Obama, it's bad.
Right. This entire thing would have been a footnote in history and a terrible tragedy if two things had occurred. One, if the president would have deferred to his military commanders and said, do what you feel is best. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, if they hadn't freaking lied about it.
Well, yeah, and that's and again, I feel like the cover. How do I explain this? The cover up is the lesser of the two to me. I mean, the cover up in itself is bad. Don't get me wrong. I'm not minimizing that. If again, I haven't seen conclusive dot to dot that links it back to Obama. There's a lot of inference, but whatever. But it's almost to me like we're beating this issue at the behest of the first one, which is more important, which is why, you know what I mean? We're talking about, well, the cover-up, is there a cover-up? But the larger question is, as the Vice Admiral said, why didn't we send troops in? This thing went on for hours. Why didn't we send anybody in?
Right. No, you're 100% right. But remember, that was the first question that was asked, okay? And so in trying to follow up to determine the answer to that first question, the information on this second issue is what's come to light. Remember, people have been asking since day one. This battle went on for 8 hours. Why was there no rapid reaction force sent there? Again, and this is a point that we made a year ago, Kevin, on this show, when I was so adamant and I was so angry about what had happened in Benghazi, because I said, listen, in Sicily, in Italy, just an hour and a half, 2 hour plane flight away, we have U.S. military personnel. We had rapid response teams. The point isn't whether or not they would have made it or could have saved anybody. The point is, there's no excuse for not trying. And the Secretary of Defense, Hillary Clinton's answer to that was that they didn't feel that sending troops or putting boots on the ground in the situation that they, quote unquote, they didn't know what the situation was on the ground, and they didn't want to send in troops to lose more lives, was an out-and-out lie, because they had drones overhead that were watching everything play by play unfold in front of them. They knew exactly what the situation on the ground was, which is why we get back to the issue of the gun running. It's too many questions, or too many things don't add up here, Kevin. Why weren't troops sent in? Well, because if guns were really being run through that CIA annex, okay, then what that attack was doing was it was exposing it. Right? So if they just put troops on the ground and they just sent troops in there and forces in there. Remember, CNN sent a crew in there 48 hours later. Right? There were still blood marks all over the walls from the men that had been killed when they were struggling to survive. The United States government did not put boots on the ground for a month. They didn't send investigators, FBI, or CIA in. So you have to ask yourself, why? Too many things aren't adding up here. And my gut tells me from the information that's leaking out from informants right now and from whistleblowers is it's going to make Iran-Contra pale in comparison.
Yeah, but
and it all goes back to Syria.
Wouldn't it have been the other way around, though? I mean, if they were hiding something in the compound, wouldn't the federal government have been on that thing first to clear out anything there, hide anything? They wouldn't have let a news agency in there within 48 hours.
They would if they listen again. The news, CNN's not going to know where to go. Federal investigators are. Okay, they're going to federal investigators are going to comb through that place doing an investigation.
Right.
CNN's going to go in and take pictures. Okay. So if you're the government, you don't. If CNN goes in there and films something you don't want, you can always come back and say, "Hey, we don't know what that was. We don't know where that came from. It has nothing to do with us." CIA or FBI is down in there with boots on the ground investigating the thing, doing a true investigation, and they start finding stuff that isn't supposed to be there. All kinds of hell's going to break loose. You're talking about clandestine operations that we know our government's involved in. We know that they do, right? It's when they don't want to get caught and they start covering up with the cover-up with the cover-up, and things start unraveling. I think we're going to find over the course of time that there's a very good reason why the American people were lied to, and it's going to be because guns were being run out of the Benghazi station to Syrian rebels backed by Al-Qaeda. And you heard it here first, if you haven't already heard that theory.
Okay. Well, listen, it'll be interesting to see how this whole thing goes. I wonder... I wonder if this renews the push for impeachment. I wonder if this will get any more traction within the Hill, on Capitol Hill, to start the process of impeaching him.
Well, I don't think that will happen, but I will tell you this: that a lot of Democrats are really pissed off over Darrell Issa, who announced Friday that he was sending a subpoena to Secretary of State John Kerry to appear before the members of Congress to testify on the Benghazi attacks. Now, of course, we all know Hillary Clinton was the Secretary of State, but John Kerry's been the Secretary of State for the last year. Okay,
right,
and they've been requesting these documents, and the Secretary of State has refused to come forward with these documents. And the quote here is, the State Department's response to congressional investigation of Benghazi has shown a disturbing disregard for its legal obligations to Congress. Issa added, compliance with a subpoena for documents is not a game. The State Department has failed to meet its legal obligations. And he's 100% right about that. 100% right. And you know as well as I do, Kevin, that in the legal world, when you don't release something that somebody else does, there's a reason you didn't release it.
Right. Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens. And now that the emails are out, one thing that's really funny, Paul, if you go to CNN.com,
yeah,
there is nothing on their front page about this.
No, of course,
nowhere on their front page.
Just like there won't be anything on MSNBC's website as well. Again, we're living in an age now where there's no such thing as neutral news, as real news. There just isn't. There are a couple of people on CNN. There's a couple on MSNBC. There's a couple on Fox that still try to do real news, but they're still coupled by the advertisers. Did you hear what happened to Shepard Smith off of Fox News the other day?
No, what happened?
Some folks on Reddit posted a story about him.
Whoa.
And what again, what a lot of people don't realize is that when Fox News says fair and balanced, they do lean to the right, but when they try to be fair and balanced, they literally sit down and say, okay, this news person is a Democrat, this one is a Republican. Okay? This one is a Democrat, this one is a Republican. So they try to even it out. Shepard Smith, most people are completely unaware, okay, who is one of the main news people at Fox News. Do you know what's interesting about Shepard Smith?
What's that?
He's a gay Democrat.
Really? I didn't know that.
Exactly. So it's, and again, it's one of those things where, you know, if you don't really dig, you don't know. But and I won't say, listen, Fox digs, but they don't. To me, they don't dig enough. They need to dig harder. They need to dig deeper. MSNBC, forget it. They don't dig. They're just Kool-Aid drinkers.
Right.
Seriously, they're Kool-Aid drinkers, which is why their ratings are they're just in the tank. CNN, their guys try to dig, but they're laughable. So, I mean, for crying out loud, CNN is, you know, I mean, they're doing so well. They fired Piers Morgan, right? Isn't that the joke that was told last night at the dinner?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's and now one of the stories that we'll talk about in the next hour, which I don't know if you've had a chance to see the post or not, that I put out about it, but there is some serious questions as to whether or not we're going to be able to keep doing this show. Did you know that?
Oh, the net neutrality?
No, about a gentleman who claims that he owns podcasting.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a real court case. And it's basically putting podcasting on trial because this guy is saying he developed it, he came up with how to do it, and he owns the rights to it. And nobody else has the right to do it without paying him.
Wow.
We'll talk about it next hour because I think that's a pretty it's a pretty good issue on the social level because a lot of people podcast.
Interesting. He has no shot in hell.
Well, I will read to you. Adam Carolla is really up in this. He's kind of heading up the whole fight against this guy. And I'll read the article to you in the next hour when we go to the last call.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Hey, listen, I got one other question for you before we wrap this. We got about 3 minutes left, but I want to give you some numbers really quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Total switch here. 300 flights, 3,000 hours in the air, 4 million square kilometers of ocean searched.
Mm-hmm.
No sign of Flight 370 from Malaysia.
Yeah. I know what happened to it. It's all over the blogosphere.
Oh, what is that?
E.T. took it.
E.T. took it. Wednesday.
Wait. Hold on. Do you have a better explanation?
Yeah. It crashed.
Okay, what is?
It crashed.
What? Where did it crash?
Somewhere in the Indian Ocean.
Can you prove that?
No. Don't have to. Wednesday, officials from Australia, Malaysia, and China will meet in Australia, in Canberra, Australia, to consider the next phase of the hunt. One key part of that phase is going to be for them to do detailed ocean floor mapping. And the cost, $60 million for the next phase, minimum. And with everything, the price goes up. Am I the only one who thinks it's time to leave the plane where it's at and move on?
Yes, I think you're the only one that thinks that.
And I'm being honest, because at what point are you flushing bad money after bad money?
It's a fair question, you cold-hearted son of a bitch. You know, and it's nice of you to say that to the kids of the people that were left behind. You know, I think you just need to take a stand right now and tell them. Repeat after me, Kevin.
Yes.
All of you children who lost loved ones.
All the children who lost loved ones? All the families who lost loved ones.
No, say children. All of you children who lost loved ones on that flight.
Okay, all of you children who lost loved ones on that flight.
Can suck it.
Can suck. I'm not going to say that because I feel bad for them. But at some point,
don't.
You're throwing good money after bad money. You've already spent.
Now you're sounding like Obama.
No. Listen. You've already spent millions, if not billions of dollars in a search. You haven't found it. You have no idea where it is. What are you hoping to find? The cause? It's questionable depending what part of the ocean it's in if you can even get the flight recorder. You're not looking for survivors anymore. You're not looking for anybody who lived. You're not looking to recover the plane because of how far down it's going to be. So all you're looking for is to know, well, here's where it is. Give the $60 million to the families. Give the $60 million to a charity that feeds people. Educate the children of those that were lost. Give them full ride scholarships to college. But right now you're flushing good money after bad money because they don't know where they're looking. If they had an area that they could look in, that they'd be like, okay, we're pretty sure that it's here, then maybe it's not such a bad idea, but they don't even know. And the Indian Ocean, that part where they think it might be, is massive.
You are a cold, heartless man.
What are they hoping to find, Paul?
Bodies.
Bodies that they're not even going to be able to get to because they're going to be stuck in the fuselage at the bottom of the frickin' ocean.
You're not going to know that if you don't find it.
You know that they're gone. They're lost. Because even if they didn't die in the crash and they survived the float down to the bottom of the ocean floor, which is physically impossible because of the pressure, but let's pretend that they did. They're dead now.
Hold on, Kevin, to quote that father who lost his son at Benghazi, if one of your kids was on that plane, wouldn't you want to know?
I know. I would know. They have to know.
No, you wouldn't know, and
you can't find them.
My question: wouldn't you want to know?
No.
If your daughter was on that flight, wouldn't you want to know what happened to it?
After 45, 50 days of not being able to find them, I would know. I would just know. And she's better down there left alone, to rest in peace.
Womp womp womp.
No, I'm serious. Listen, that's why they never rest, or they never raised the Arizona either.
It's a joke. They
didn't exactly have the technology to raise the Arizona.
That's why they didn't pull the bodies out of the Arizona.
We got break, by the way.
They left the bodies in the Arizona to let them rest in peace. So, all right, we'll take a break. You know I'm right. I'm always right. Eric Christensen says my shirt is giving his ADD fits, by the way. So, ADD this.
Well, as long as it's not making him break out in a seizure.
I'm not even going to touch that. I'm not sure how that's funny. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, that will conclude this show. The last call will be next. It's a 1-hour free-for-all. You can say, do, talk about anything you want. Desiree has asked for a full-body massage.
No, I have not.
And,
no, I have not.
Trojo is showed. What? He's pointing at me.
See, he knows it's you. He knows it was you.
I didn't post anything. Who's in the seat you normally sit in? We're back after this. Outlaw Radio Network.
Get outlawed.